Hey, gang. Happy birthday to me. It's the birthday episode. Also, the last one before, the last group Friday thing before Election Day. Got a bunch of people to call in to say hello. The three main and maybe some others. Matt, Blake, and I will go through the Electoral College, give our final predictions. No more editing after this. I see somebody back there that we might also get a good opinion from. Phil Blackhead will be joining us today. You remember him from earlier this season. A Harvard-educated Trump supporter. We call that an oxymoron, or just a moron. You can see him laughing too. All right, 11:03, 99.1 WDJY. And another big thing today. Do you know what that is? Who knows what that is? I gotta actually type it in so I can. There we go. First day, welcome to our first day, and to everybody listening through KSHP 1400 AM and 107 FM, Las Vegas. Welcome, everybody. You're listening to Up the Middle. My name is Yergz. I'm a retired Secret Service agent turned. Oh, I think there's one more.
You can start tomorrow. Broadcast.
Okay. Yep. Long story. We got a bunch of channels that we got to click into at the right time. We got about 2 or 3 minutes for that one. WTAN in the Tampa Bay area and WDCF join at like 11:05, 11:06, something like that. I'm going to tell them to give me the heads up. When. So yeah, let's bring out whoever we got. But as I was saying to those at KSHP in Vegas, this is Up the Middle. I'm a retired Secret Service agent. No, Phil, that wasn't for you. That was for WTAN. Sorry about that. I'm laughing at some things in the private chat. I'm a retired Secret Service agent and political scientist and historian by education. What I mean by that is that's my degree. And yes, I used that for 21 years in the Secret Service. I'm not lecturing, except for here. I'm not at a university, and that's why I say by education, because I still have the background. I still have the experience, firsthand experience. I mean, on the street experience of the political science that we talk about here. With me every week is the homeless conservative, Lady Fisher.
Hey.
Were you listening to speakers or something?
No, my window's open, I realize still, so I'll probably close that in a second so you don't hear any leaf blowers or anything fun.
Oh, no, but when I first clicked you in, I heard like an echo.
Oh.
And Philip was blinking his head too. But yeah, so the homeless conservative, for our new listeners in Vegas, we call you that. Why, Blake?
Well, because I don't feel very at home in the current Republican Party, because I'm not a fan of Trump. I don't think that he's conservative. I don't think he has conservative values. I don't think he has conservative policies. I think that his policies are bad. And so he's taken over the entire Republican Party. So I don't feel like I've got a place to hang out. Certainly not with Democrats. They're also insane. So I'm not going over there.
And speaking of insane Democrats, we got one joining. I need a producer. From the wheels. The Democratic candidate for Congress. Why am I echoing? Why is that? Do you hear that?
I do hear that.
Yeah. For the Democratic candidate for Congress in the 7th District of Ohio, right outside Cleveland. WTAN is on too. Welcome, WTAN. We're getting everybody up to date. We have a new station today, KSHP in Las Vegas. So we're going through some introductions. You folks already know who we are. Matt Deemer is this recent addition here to the screen and to the rest of the show. He is the Democratic candidate for Congress in the 7th District of Ohio. It's right outside Cleveland. Make Congress work again. That's his. And he's also the host of Daily Crypto News. You can hear them both, the Homeless Conservative and Daily Crypto News, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And lastly, this gentleman's been with us before. We're going to put him in for those watching on video. You can find out where you can get us, by the way, by going to www.mastiff.media. That's the simple way. However, I found out that link, for whatever reason, doesn't work. You actually have to type in https://mastiff.media. That one works fine. And that is kind of like our link tree for the Mastiff Media Corporation, where you can find everywhere where you can get this show weekly, but I'm on 5 days a week, 11 a.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. London time, because we're on in London too. Shout out to the UG.media. And 8 a.m. Pacific time with our new friends at KSHP. All right, next up, we got another conservative joining us. This one is a Trump supporter. I saw your note there, Blake.
Yeah, I hear like another radio station in the background. Am I the only one that's hearing that? There's like a tone right now. There's a woman talking.
I hear a tone.
Okay, I have no idea.
Yeah,
I don't think it's like interference on my side, but
let's bring out and try to keep moving. With us is Philip Blackett. He is get all this. As you can see, the name kind of fits. A black dude that likes Trump.
There's more of them this year than there have in the past. I mean,
yeah,
he's not alone.
We're spawning, man.
He's not alone.
And he's an author. The man's published. The man is Harvard educated. So maybe we're missing something that he's not.
I will say this. I love the cap from the driver on the top left. I'm trying to read the writing. I didn't know that Make America Great Again hats come in blue. I'll have to make sure I get one.
Make Congress work again. Yeah, I mean, wouldn't that be the dream? Wouldn't that be the dream?
So, big day. We've got our last meeting with the three and perhaps Tuesday, 4 of us, until we got to introduce a fifth one. This is Shady. This is my puppy, who is definitely a puppy. She likes to lick microphones and sit on Dad's lap while he's trying to work.
Of course.
Can you go lay down, baby? Our last meeting together, our last Friday meeting together before the big day, although for some that day has started. All right, you got to go, girl. Bye. Philip, as you know, we have early voting here in Florida. Mm-hmm. What about Oklahoma and Oklahoma City, Blake? What?
We've got early voting. It's a nightmare though, because I don't know why people do this. It doesn't make any sense to me. We only do it for like the week and a half before the election, which I think is fine. I think people that do it 40 days in advance is kind of ridiculous. I think that's outrageous. So there's only one place in the county though that you can go vote early if you're not doing like an absentee ballot. And so the whole county, which Oklahoma County is like 1 million people. So if you want to vote early, you got to go stand in this crazy line. You got to wait for like a couple hours. And I'm like, why would you not just request a mail-in ballot instead? It just seems like a lot easier, but there are people that do it.
Wait, Blake, I want to just correct you. You said, I don't know why people do this. I would say that's probably the Secretary of State or your state government that's doing that, not people.
Well, I meant why do people go stand in line for
okay.
2 hours?
I'm talking about with that one polling location.
No.
That's not their fault.
Sense. No, and that makes sense. I mean, like I get that they want to hire a bunch of workers for a bunch of different places. They're like, you can vote at the county office for the week and a half before or whatever, and which I think it's enough time, especially with the absentee ballot kind of stuff that we have in Oklahoma. You can request. I think everyone should model our election system in Oklahoma. It's actually pretty great. And one of the things that I love the most about it, if you want to do absentee ballot, is that you can request it for the whole year. So in January or whatever, you could be like, hey, I want absentee ballots for every election that comes my way this whole year. And it just shows up.
How many elections do you guys have?
Well, I mean, it adds up when it depends on the year, obviously, but you've got like local school boards. I mean, all that stuff. So you will get absentee ballots for everything that you can vote in for the whole year.
Are they just on the same ballot?
No. Like throughout the year. So, but my point is, you only have to make one request at the start of the year to say, I would like every ballot that comes by, and they come a few weeks before the election, and then you fill it out and you mail it in, and it's easy. So
Let's explain this to Yergz, because I don't think because a lot of people might have different things. Like, so for example, in Ohio, you will have just the primary and the general election, and that's gonna be in March of this year, and then of course we have the general coming up on Tuesday. But in other places, like for example, in I know that my friend's running for mayor. His primary for his mayoral race is not until January, but his mayoral race is in February.
Yep.
But then he has a primary for, say, something else, which is going to be a city councils and things like that. It's going to be later in the year. But of course, then you go to the general election. So, like, a lot of people, just depending on the other boards, there's many different races throughout the year that could just not all coincide in the same day.
yeah, and city ones and stuff like that too. Like we had an arena question last year for the Thunder stuff. So I mean, like, things come up fairly often. I mean, there's generally about 6 opportunities probably in most.
Do they wonder why there's no turnout?
What do you mean? Like, because there's too many elections?
Yeah, let's do it all day.
Yergz, that's on purpose, actually. The teachers' unions do not want school board meetings to be on normal election days. They have them in like April. Literally, it's like, no, it's not. So in an election year, when we're going to have to do that kind of thing, they're like, oh no, we don't want, like, there was actually a petition this year to get school board elections to be during normal election times, because yeah, the teachers unions don't want people showing up. They want low turnout, because if they get low turnout, they control. I mean, like, think about it. Like, if you're a teachers union and you could probably get more teachers to show up to vote for a school board meeting for a school board position than you could voters. If it's like on a Tuesday in the middle of April where you're voting for nothing else. Yeah, they want them on different days. They want low turnout because it's advantageous to them.
Not if you have a good candidate.
Well, that's not what they're interested in. They're not interested in having a good candidate. They're interested in having someone on their side. They're not, I mean, this is how everyone works. I'm not vilifying them, like teachers specifically. I'm just saying, like, this is how everyone would do it if they could. If you could control it better and make low turnout benefits you, you want low turnout. I mean, it's much easier to work the numbers.
I got a question for our guest today. I don't know what direction we're going to go with the show, but I want to talk to him because he's hanging out there. We've met a couple months back, I think. But you're Harvard. You're Harvard.
Oh, did you miss me? Well, I miss y'all too.
What just happened?
You're Harvard. You're Harvard. So, like, what happened? I thought that Harvard was woke liberal colleges, and you come out as a conservative Trump supporter.
You know, the funny thing is, I would think that just because you go to Ivy League doesn't mean you have to think a certain way, right? Like, hopefully they teach people in colleges today not so much what to think, but how to think.
I don't think they are. I don't think there's any evidence that's what's happening in a lot of the schools.
When I went to school back in the day, that was the approach. Maybe that's changed. I don't know why. Maybe somebody can enlighten me there. But yeah, I think
wasn't Harvard one of the university presidents that got their tit in a ringer over the Palestine Jewish situation?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was a huge. Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, because when did you graduate from Harvard?
So I went to business school back in 2016, so not too far.
Okay, so not that far away. Well, I mean, everything I've read seems like the shifts started in.
Oh man, business school at Harvard, isn't that like just the Communist Manifesto?
No way.
No,
the same place where Jamie Dimon, the richest, biggest banker in the world, Communist Manifesto? Never.
Yeah, I think they probably took some of that stuff out of the economic stuff.
See, I was led to believe that Harvard just taught socialism and communism, and I'm surprised. Color me surprised over here.
No. Maybe in the sociology department, but not in like the capitalism school called Harvard Business School. Probably not. No.
Yeah, I think you can't tame it down that much. No, I think some of the stuff like Jonathan Haidt's new book, The Anxious Generation and stuff, has quite a bit of. Maybe it's anecdotal, maybe it's data. I don't know. I mean, there's been people talking about it, but it does seem like there was a shift around 2012 and it was not entirely to do with the colleges being like changing what they did. It was they were being reactionary to the new kind of students that were coming in. They were a little bit more entitled and didn't want anyone to hurt their feelings and things like that. So I do think it was kind of
Just
shifted.
stop with the feeling stuff. That's
feeling.
But I mean, like, yeah, I mean, I agree.
I see that on Facebook on the daily. If me wanting to protect my country hurts your feelings, blah blah blah. No, you want to protect your country. Don't put a traitor like Donald Trump in the White House.
Well, yeah, but that's the. I mean, that's a little different. I'm talking about they didn't want to bump up against something that they thought words were violence. It was like this generation that thought, oh, if I hear something that I disagree with, that's violence towards me. And they've changed as they've started seeping into workplaces too. You've seen this happen at places like the New York Times.
Hey, sir, wait till you hear what they say about silence.
What it being golden or what?
No. Silence is violence. You heard that one?
Oh yeah, no. But yeah, you're right. Silence is violence. Words is violence.
I'm on fire today with sarcasm and tongue-in-cheek humor that nobody's picking up on. It's killing me.
No, I get you now. Yeah, no, the silence is violence thing is hilarious, and also that
like
real
the whole
violence.
Harvard thing. Like I almost feel like I'm just not understood today, guys. Please.
And burning down businesses downtown is speech.
Hey,
so it's kind of a weird thing that happened.
Hey, as long as he's not calling me garbage this hour, I'm fine. Whatever he has to say.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about
that.
how this whole week actually turned into literally talking about garbage, which is it's just the perfect picture of what this entire presidential race is.
I do have perhaps a general question with regards to that. He gets up there and responds to the garbage thing as, I don't know the guy.
Who's he? This is
Trump, of course.
Trump.
Gets up there and says, I don't know the guy. He just was picked, blah, 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 whatever. Dude, if you can't vet a comedian, how are you going to pick a Secretary of State?
Well, look, I don't think that's
all of the decent ones don't want to have anything to do with you in the first place.
Yeah, but I mean, Trump's not putting together this rally personally. I mean, that's actually pretty believable. But however, I will say
that's why they have a campaign staff.
I will say that.
And if you can't pick a decent campaign staff,
I think it is incredibly telling that Donald Trump tried to distance himself from the comments because he never does that, guys. Mm-hmm. I think it's pretty clear that they know that was a big problem. Because Donald Trump never apologizes for any of these kind of things. Ever.
What are you talking about? He distanced himself from everybody. He's like, I never met the person. Like, you worked with the person. I never met him.
I never met him.
Not on this kind of like rhetoric on the trail.
Around the White House once in a while.
I mean, there was one
son-in-law.
I'll throw an alley-oop here.
When he said that,
I'll throw an alley-oop here. Someone can catch it. There was a particularly poignant platform that he was very much distancing himself over the course of this election just to help out. Something that does
2025
with next year or something. He was very much distancing himself on that one.
Yeah, but don't you think that was more the campaign? And I think that was, I mean, we can talk about Project 2025. You're right. He did throw that under the bus too. But same thing. I think because they had enough.
Agenda 47 is the Cliff's Notes version, the Donald Trump version of Project 2025.
Right, but my point is that when he knows that he distanced himself from Project 2025 because the way Kamala was using it, fair or unfair, which I think was actually unfair for the most part, was working. And I think they saw that it was working, so they knew they had to do that. My point is the same thing about this comedian thing. Some people are going to try to say, oh, this is just the press making a big deal out of something that's not a big deal. I disagree. Because Donald Trump is distancing himself from it, they know it's a big deal too. That's my point, is that he only does it when someone comes to him and says, hey, this is an actual problem. You just pissed off a very specific minority demographic that has a huge demographic in Pennsylvania specifically. And
450,000.
And
which by the way, that advice might have came from a weak Republican woman, that sort that, a certain shark would talk about that, never questions Trump or proposes certain things that he should probably do.
Right. I think the problem with the Puerto Rican thing specifically is that, like, first of all, if you're going to have a comedian there, you better have it locked down what he's saying. And I know they approved this stuff beforehand because he had a joke that called her the C word, guys. And they were like, no, you can't do that. So, they vetted him and they vetted his actual, but then he starts riffing because he's a comedian. And obviously he's a bad comedian because you can't read the room very well if you're making black watermelon jokes and Puerto Rican garbage jokes. And like, Like,
yeah.
like what? Like, and why have a guy that might run the risk of doing that? He did some of that material in the club the night before. So my point is, someone in the campaign had to be able to go, this is not worth rolling the dice on. You try to do this big Madison Square Madison Square Garden rally. You're trying to end the campaign on the note you want to end it on. And then because some guy that we've never heard of, this isn't like he had, this wasn't Jerry Seinfeld or someone that he had, like, I've never heard of this guy before. And
but here's the thing too, like even if you vetted the guy, as far as like seeing if you could let him on stage or not, did no one watch the Tom Brady roast when he was on?
Right,
like,
but
he was lethal.
Right, but Tom Brady roast is totally different too, and you've got to have someone that can do a political rally versus that. There's a totally different thing doing that kind of thing. I'm not opposed to like racial comedy. I think comedy, everything should go. Like, you know what I mean? Because I just think it's funnier that way. But like, also, I don't think black watermelon jokes are very funny, and Puerto Rican garbage jokes aren't very funny either. It's like the joke wasn't even funny. It's like you don't even get it's like it was offensive and it wasn't funny. No one's laughing at it. It's one thing to be Dave Chappelle and say controversial things, but they're funny. That's
we're still talking about this. Jeez, though, man.
Oh, barely.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the point is the campaign should.
Were you hopping off hoping that you wouldn't be talking about this when you got back on?
Campaign
exactly. It's over.
But I think it'll matter. I think it'll matter, Matt. I think it will affect votes. I think that when you're talking about such a specific demographic, and because I think it's a little, and we'll talk about Biden's garbage thing too, obviously. But I mean, I think they clearly think that it might make a difference. And when you're talking about a 50-50 coin toss election, and that's going to be closer than the last one, where Georgia's 11,000 votes, Pennsylvania's 80,000 votes, very, very small margins. That kind of comment where you just piss off a demographic, even if the demographic just doesn't show up, even if they just say, I'm going to stay home, that can make a big difference. So I think it will potentially matter. We'll see. I mean, I'm not sure that we really will ever know, because exit polls are just not accurate enough to give us an idea of specifically, like, did fewer Puerto Rican voters turn out for Trump than they would have otherwise? It's hard. It's going to be impossible to prove that. But I think it's significant. And I think it's just interesting that between that comment and then Biden's rebuttal, which is also, why is Biden talking anywhere? Like, why?
Because he's the president of the United States.
He shouldn't be.
Not?
He shouldn't be, though. And he tanks. I mean, Kamala trying to do the same thing. I'm going to end on this note. Here's the note. Here's what I'm trying to say. Joe Biden, Trump's supporters are garbage. And man, it's just, and neither one of them can separate from, which to me, it was another opportunity for Kamala to just throw him under the bus. That's what I would have done if I was her. But what do y'all think? I mean, do you think either one of those the garbage comments are going to matter? I kind of think they might.
No,
I don't know that throwing him under the bus is, just say there's things that worked and things that didn't. We'll do things differently and try something and make things better.
You could have thrown him under the bus on that comment, though. She could have said something like, look, I've been honored to serve under Joe Biden, but I think vilifying an entire half of the country and calling them garbage is unacceptable, and that's not the kind of president I'm going to be.
Oh yeah, okay. Go back to that. I missed that altogether, and I'm hearing that throughout the week, and I'm thinking it has something to do with the garbage joke about Puerto Rico. So what did Biden say?
He's responding to the joke, and on the call, this is on a call for like Latino voters, for this, like a Zoom call. This is not, I don't think, worthy of having the president of the United States on, but whatever. He's on this thing, and it gets brought up or something, and he said, I mean, should probably play the audio, although I don't have it, but he says, he's trying to defend. He's saying, none of the Puerto Ricans I know in Delaware are garbage. You know who's garbage? His supporters are garbage. To do that kind of vilification of people. And the White House transcript, there's a big controversy here because they try to change the transcript to say supporter 'S, which is not what the transcriber wrote it as. And it's, I think, pretty clearly not what he was saying, because he's a bumbling old man. They try to change it to...
But wait a minute, though. You can't just label him a fumbling, bumbling old man
I can. He is.
and not say the exact same thing about
I'm
T-Rock.
not talking about Trump right now. I don't have to hedge everything I say. You know I don't like Trump. You know I don't think he's a good candidate. You know I don't think he's a conservative. Okay? But Biden is the one that said his supporters are garbage. Now, the White House is trying to clean that up and say it was his supporter apostrophe S referring to the comedian. He's garbage. It's ridiculous. He called Trump supporters garbage, and whether he meant it or not, or he fumbled or whatever, it doesn't matter. It looks like he called half the country garbage. That's a bad look for the president of the United States. It's bad for Kamala Harris. Throw him under the bus.
Especially bad for him when he'd been campaigning and actually operating,
right,
to his credit, as a president for everybody.
Yeah, but not really. He's never been. That's an act. He can't do it.
My brother was here 6 or 8 months ago, and we went by the Walmart, and there's like this big garden area, part of the infrastructure for like water overflow. And he goes, "Oh, that's really cool that they," because he's in construction, large projects, neighborhoods, entire developments, things like that. He said, "Oh, that's really cool that they did that." So I slammed on the brakes, and I said, "Read that sign." And it was from the Biden infrastructure bill, which our very own Congressman, Gus Bilirakis, voted against. So don't say.
Look, I know you think Biden should be on Mount Rushmore because he passed an infrastructure bill, Yergz, but he's not that consequential. People don't like him. Look, I'm just telling you, people don't like him. That's why it's foolish for Kamala to have not thrown him under the bus until now. And by throw him under the bus, I mean in the lightest way or the heaviest way possible. I think she should have invoked the 25th Amendment and she should be the president right now because he is not
too big of a president. She never would have got that across everybody, and it has to be unanimous.
People don't have to be unanimous.
Don't like him.
Cabinet, does it?
It has to be unanimous with the whole cabinet. All 29, 30 of, or whatever it is this week.
Well, I mean, fine. But I mean, my point is he shouldn't be president and he's ruining her campaign.
The reason why Trump wants to add yet another cabinet position is because it would be one more person that would have to say yes when his vice president snaps out of it and says, yeah, this guy's bat poo-poo.
You think that's ever going to happen, Yergz? You're delusional if you think anyone next to Donald Trump is going to invoke the 25th.
Because they're all yes men.
Yeah. No, it's not gonna happen. But I mean, I just think it's a problem. I think that Biden's been a problem with her this whole time. She tries to send a message out, he undermines it, and I would have politely said, "Look, I would have thrown him completely under the bus because he's unpopular enough. I think it would have been a.
It's not he's unpopular.
He is though.
He was unpopular when he was still running as a way too old man.
He's still unpopular. He still has the lowest approval rating of any president in the history of the polling of it. He's he's underwater on his approval numbers. It has been since the botched Afghanistan withdrawal in August of 2021.
Oh my God, stop with that. That was Trump's.
He's never recovered. Yergz, he did it.
Surrender.
Yergz, I'm giving you the facts. I'm giving you what people, when they're polled, say about him. Ever since the Afghanistan withdrawal, he has never recovered from the polling since then. He took a huge dive. He's never recovered from it. You're right. He did get a bump when he dropped out, but it's still below what any president was before. I'm pretty sure still to this day. He's not popular. He's not been the consequential president he thinks he is, or that Democrats try to tell us he is.
Or that most political scientists who rank him at number 14.
I don't trust political scientists that rank him number 14. They're wrong. And here's the thing. Do you want to win an election?
People who spend their life being impartial.
They don't.
Studying one thing.
Those people
do
not matter to this election whatsoever. Their opinions about Joe Biden are not being placed upon the American people. And Joe Biden and Donald Trump were very, very unpopular candidates going into this the entire time. Kamala gets a bump by not being either one of them, but not enough because she won't separate herself from the Biden-Harris administration, which to me would have been really easy to do because you just go, hey, the vice president can't really do anything, and just own it.
All right. Well, we got to take a break real quick. When we come back, we're going to switch gears. We'll be back to this. None of this is finished. I mean, hit it, but we've got another guest checking in. So when we come back, we'll be back with one of the political candidates that we've talked to on here a couple of months ago, and she'll be with us after this. 99.1 WDJY, 107 and 1400 KSHP. I listened to that. Apparently they're having some technical things on their end, but we'll still give them the kudos. And the rest of the Mastiff Media Network, You're going up the middle. We'll be back after this. Do you have a podcast? Of course you do. It's probably one of the reasons why you listen to us. Well, I got something for you. Flowsend.ai. All you do is take your pre-recorded data, click, drag, and drop right into the inbox for Flowsend AI. Click a button, and out comes everything that you're going to need. From the transcript to content, such as keywords, titles for your episode, the timeline, posts for LinkedIn, posts for Twitter, Instagram, other smaller platforms, all the things that it takes you hours to do in literally minutes. So go to flowsend.ai. Tell them Yergz sent you and get your subscription today. Worth every penny. Flowsend.ai. All right. Next. Oh, let's go commercial break.
By the
So-
way, it is a majority of the cabinet. It is not unanimous. It's just the vice president and majority of the cabinet. Look that up on the break.
Okay. All right.
So I think she could have done that. And I think after that debate, she could have done it. Now we can. I just think that it's dangerous to have him the president right now. Obviously, you don't. That's fine. But he's definitely screwing up her campaign. And it doesn't really matter what people think who are experts if the majority of the voting public doesn't feel the same way. That's all that matters. So that's why I'm saying throw him under the bus.
Majority
Even
of the voting public got to stop listening to Fox News and start listening to us.
Fox News, they're listening to their personal. They're listening to their wallet. They're listening to the economy. They're listening to their jobs. They're listening to their businesses. They're listening to all sorts of things.
Oh, I know.
Fox News
don't
gets
even get me
3
started on groceries.
Fox News gets
Yes, down
3
here in
million,
Florida
3
is
million
less than
viewers at their peak. That's 1% of the country. This is not where people are getting their news that are voting. They're going to vote in this election.
I am still hearing a really.
I am too.
Ago.
I'm hearing a lady talking. It's
Um,
like a constant commercial.
how's that? That better?
Still kind of hear it,
Still
but
doesn't.
it's fine.
I think
We're
I
louder
sound-
than it in my ears, so that's fine.
I think I sound a little sexier. That's what's important.
That is important.
So coming up next, we have a guest from my hometown, my home area of Pennsylvania, and I'm having issues with my board here. Here we go. Rain right now, candidate for the state house in Pennsylvania, running against an incumbent who wants to do nothing but hunt, and that's it. And she like Matt, who disappeared, wants their legislative body to do more than just hunting legislation. She's been on earlier this season, and we want to welcome her back. Welcome, Rain. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it.
So, what are there any sorts of ear to the ground type? I know it's local, so they're not spending a lot of money on polls. But what are you hearing? What's the general feeling?
Yeah, so absolutely no polling. So it's just based on conversations. I've been out knocking on a lot of doors, and we're hearing from a lot of people who are planning to cross over and not vote for their party. Usually it is Republicans who are voting Democrat this time. So things are looking pretty good for all of the Democrats on the ballot. I don't know specifically within the state legislative district if it's going to flip enough, but it's looking pretty good for Pennsylvania overall if Berks County has this many people who are voting blue who voted red last time.
And so you're saying that that could translate into a pretty big victory for another lady that we all know and love, or at least some here know, maybe not love, in from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and we're getting buses of people coming in from New Jersey and New York each weekend to get out and try to meet more people, knock on doors. So they're feeling like it's too safe where they are, that any effort that they're making to go out and try to engage with potential voters, it's kind of votes that were already secured. So we've got 50 people on a bus. We had 2 buses that came in with the group I met last week. And that's been really uplifting to have all these other people coming in to help. Yergz, as you know, this part of the country, outsiders sometimes are frowned upon. So we're trying to make sure it's
especially when they try to vote. That's not
well, they're not
either.
trying to vote here. They're just trying to engage people and make sure they understand the importance of the importance of voting.
And when they're from New Jersey, right? I mean, that's the specific
right,
problem.
right, yeah. Perhaps if it were from another state, they would be a little more welcoming. But yeah, there's definitely a rivalry with New Jersey.
Understand?
Yeah.
Close neighbors. It happens.
Yeah,
But by and
around
large,
here, like I'm still a newcomer to some people, and I've lived here almost 20 years. My dad was Navy, so I didn't really have a chance to have roots anywhere. So I think I've been forgiven and been allowed to say I'm from here now. I'd never hit 5 years in a single house before I moved here. So
I got 3 years down here in Florida, and I'm still a tourist.
yeah, you might not make it long enough to ever not be a tourist there. Oh, and I forgot to say happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
You're
Happy
welcome.
birthday.
The big 5'3". So tell us what you do, the real job, because that's something that's near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, so I own a dog center. So you can see I've got dog stuff around me. I think I've got dogs behind me over here too. We just celebrated 16 years for my business, and I have a wonderful management team who's able to run it with me just kind of on the fringes this year. So that's been wonderful. But yeah, dog daycare, boarding, training. We do have foster dogs. We have 2 new foster beagles that are supposed to be arriving to us tomorrow. So send people who are looking for pets our way too.
Very cool. Awesome. So I keep looking at my phone because I have to check in with one of the other stations. We have KSHP from Las Vegas joining us today as a new member of the network, and apparently they didn't get the message.
Oh, all right. Well, welcome Las Vegas.
They get a Lowe's commercial now. So, all right. Well, whatever. Hopefully next week, and I'll get an extra week of credit, because this is self-syndication can be an expensive hobby.
I would imagine,
Yeah. So today I was out, I got a tour of the emergency operations facility for Earl and Pike townships. And it was pretty cool. We have the Limerick nuclear station is nearby, and they've got this, everything is planned out so well in case something should ever go wrong there. And then also if any dams break nearby. It was a fascinating morning. So that's been one of the really cool things about running for office is people invite you to learn more about different parts that as just the business owner who lives in Hereford, I never would have been invited to go and get the behind the scenes tour. We've got a lot of great people here.
What seem to be some of the biggest issues that you're going to be tackling? And for the record, and we'll make sure you get a copy of this to play it back on your own social media. I've reached out to Dave Maloney's office at least 6 times. Get the same guy. Yeah, he's busy today. I don't know if I'm going to see him. Blah, blah, blah. But he's interested. Well, I don't know how much time we got between now and Tuesday.
Not a lot.
No,
but
Not a lot.
I'm not going with a lot of interest on his part. And I know people that are supportive of him, that I'm going to make sure they see this and know of our efforts to do I'm endorsing you because you want the position. For everybody else, not for your own, hunting regulations and whatever. And I heard some other story about a land grab that he failed at, and it screwed him. And do your research. That's what I tell people. Do your homework. Don't trust me. Take what I say. Get the information behind it from our show notes available at yergz.com, and do your own homework. And Maloney didn't do that, and he lost a chunk of land before he bought a property. He lost a chunk of it because of how streets were done and whatever else when things were reorganized. But point being, it just everything I've heard about the guy, and to include the fact that 6 times at least of having reached out to him through his office, through the channels, and talked to his people. Where's he at? That doesn't sound like somebody who's doing stuff like this for us. Conversely, there's another local politician who's local to me down here in Florida that I've also endorsed, who's Republican. Guy was driving up and down this street right out here. As you can tell, I'm in my garage because of the damage done by Hurricane Helene. Right here on the other side of this monitor is my garage door. And right on the other side of that is my street. Driving up and down the street and throughout the neighborhood with the president of our association picking up mattresses and box springs that have been discarded because of the flood. Why is that an issue? Because they're spongy, they're bouncy. And when you throw them in the back of a dump truck with cabinets and other more projectile type things, those things become projectiles. And it creates a very dangerous situation on a highway. So they were separated and picked up separately. And he was doing that. Jack, I'm brain farting. I'll get it. But Jack was doing that at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
With our association president in their own vehicles. It's not like they went and got county trucks to do it in, which they could have and should have. But yeah, so up the middle here is just that. What seem to be some of the issues that you'll be facing, should you unseat him?
One of the really big pressing things is figuring out how to fund our schools. In Pennsylvania, there's been a huge reliance on local property tax to be a big funder of the schools. So that makes it quite unequal depending on what neighborhoods are around that school. That changes what kind of budget. So that'll be a big thing to tackle. We can't take away taxes. We have to kind of figure out how to redistribute that burden. So it's a little bit less on retired community, people who've been in their homes for 40 years, continuing to pay this huge amount of tax for school systems that doesn't sit well with a lot of people, but just trying to find a way that we are honoring that commitment to educate our students. So that's a big one. One of the things I did, there's 19 municipalities within the 130th district, and I have visited at least one meeting at each of the municipalities. In some pockets, it's dealing with the DEP and figuring out water sourcing. One of the local municipalities was trying to figure out a backup well and went through a whole lot of headaches. By the time they start to finally make progress, staffing change has happened at the DEP. This new person says, no, you can't go this way. They've already dumped thousands of dollars, like potentially $100,000 into this project. So trying to find ways to help with the regulations to keep the environment safe, but also be able to provide water. That's a big one that's come up on the local level. And then also funding for ambulances has been one that's come up quite often. And for some reason, when somebody takes a ride in an ambulance, the insurance is paying the person rather than the ambulance company. And sometimes that money isn't making it to the ambulance companies. So trying to find some kind of change that perhaps it should work the same as it would for the hospital or the doctor, that the insurance company pays directly to the service provider. So that would be something I'd like to tackle too.
Yeah, I'd have to get way behind that because, and bringing a lot of those costs down. Mm-hmm. I had a surgery down here in Florida that I paid out of pocket, something like, it was a couple $1,000s out of pocket up front in the lobby before going in to be prepped for the surgery that day. And then I still get a bill that is for whatever insurance didn't bless, or that whole system has got to go.
Yeah, I mean, good luck. It's complicated. It's a hard one.
Hillary Clinton said that same thing years ago and literally got laughed off Capitol Hill.
Well, I mean, because it is that complicated, I think. I mean, I think it's
now we have Obamacare, and Obamacare is not finished. Obama said that. I'm still hearing that tone.
Yeah, me too. It's driving me nuts. Okay, so here's a question on the property rights thing, because our property tax. So because I'm curious how that works. So you're saying, like, right now, all the school funding comes from property taxes in Pennsylvania? Is it siloed?
Not all of it.
Okay.
Not all of it, but it's supposed to be less than half, and it's been gradually increasing.
So does that mean the property taxes have gone up in the meantime too?
Yes.
Or okay.
Yes.
So what would be the replacement for it then? Any ideas or
yeah, I've got a bunch of ideas. None of them are really fun to have to say, but one of them is potentially increased sales tax that gets redirected towards that. One I think we'll go over a little bit better is legalizing and taxing marijuana usage. It's only legal here in Pennsylvania if you have a medical license for it, or And my opponent did vote against medical marijuana here. If it's in all the states all around us, it's
Do you
legal.
think
Let's
that
get
vote?
that
Do you think
regulated
the vote
tax
against?
money in.
Do you think the vote against the medical marijuana was just the basic conservative rubber stamp?
Potentially, then I heard there could be something that has to do with gun rights that's associated with it. I haven't ever really followed
It is
through on that.
complicated when you're dealing with federal stuff that's still illegal and state stuff that is. I mean,
Yeah.
there's all sorts of. I feel like we've maybe gone a little too jumped in the deep end of the pool with the marijuana stuff without letting a couple states figure it out first.
Right. And I like that the states all around us have been doing that so we can figure out what works there and what doesn't and potentially implement that. That's another source of tax money that
But I've not
is
seen
going
it.
to other states.
I've not seen it work in any state that it turned out to be the revenue source that people thought.
Right.
That was Colorado's big thing going first, was they were like, oh, this is going to solve budgetary problems. It just never did. It just, frankly, they were counting on way too much. I mean, even a state like Colorado, which should tell you something. If Colorado can't make the revenue off of it, boy, we might have to rethink it somewhere. I think that I'm
thinking it would just be a part of it. It wouldn't be what we'd rely on. Potentially a higher income tax, like at a really higher bracket. And so then the years that you are making the most money, you're able to then share. When you're having a year that's full of hardship, you're not going to have as much of a tax burden towards that. Potentially some kind of corporate fees or corporate taxes. And I know everyone's like, don't tax the corporations because then they'll leave. But people also want a community that has great education. That's a way to try to bring corporations in. So it's a really complicated balance to try to figure out what the right thing is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I can see how that can be, but I think it's hard to. I think the trickiest part about all that stuff is so much of it's based on forecasting, and income can go wildly up and down depending on economically and stuff like that too. So property taxes are a little more, for the most part, steady tick up kind of thing. They're a little more reliable, I guess, than income or those other or sales taxes, things like that rely on.
The tough thing is that it's a really, really high tax.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah, so and it's not equitable because it depends on the community as to what the budget's going to be. So I'm not too far from Allentown, who used to be this really thriving mecca. And as industry left Allentown, they lost a lot of the money that's coming in. So those schools are very underfunded. And I'm in a district that's kind of more balanced, but there's some that are so well funded. And it would be nice to be able to spread that out a bit more equitably.
Why couldn't you just spread out the property taxes more evenly? I mean,
right now they go directly to the school district.
Right, but why couldn't we just go to a general fund that then gets spread to all the districts? I mean, that's another one of all these little things. Let's check together that, if it all gets centrally placed, and then perhaps it's not quite as big a percentage in some districts, because the district depends on the size of the school district too, then how many houses are funding that one and where the burden is. And it's a really complicated issue. And the way our districts are currently funded has been found to be unconstitutional, but it doesn't fit the Pennsylvania state constitution because it's not even depending on where you live, you get a different quality education. Interesting.
So I have a question. So
Sure.
It seems like we're kind of like piecemealing it off of what we currently have. And so I'm always curious to ask, if you could start like with a blank slate, like here's what we need as far as like revenue. Mm-hmm. This is our population. What would you do as far as like what would that composition look like to you, as far as like where would you get the money coming from, whether it's certain taxes or regulation? Like what would you list out as like, these are the things I would focus on if I could start it from scratch?
So this is me with my magic wand pretending reality doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, magic wand.
And everyone likes taxes in this one as well.
Well,
we pretend that magically.
We'll say reasonably,
We'll keep the realistic attitudes of taxes too.
Yeah. I would take away the property tax part of education. I would like it to be, that's what funds the local roads and the local emergency services, local government. And I would like it to be a fully state controlled budget that goes out per district based on the number of students. So I think it's that an income tax has got to be the way to go. And I know that's going to change depending on the year, but you have to have a buffer in the budget, have an emergency fund.
Do you have any idea what that rate would have to be? I mean, I literally just don't know.
I haven't. No, I haven't. I haven't had this magical way to do it, so I haven't figured out what that rate would
You haven't had a magic wand. Weird.
No. And depending if I get in office or not, I'm just the citizen who thinks we need to change things, or somebody who can make a difference. So with all the issues I've been trying to learn this year, it's been hard to fully embrace how this would happen. So I want to make sure I never make a promise that I can't promise I'm going to fix this. I can promise I'm going to look at as many different ways as we can to come together and find a solution.
So it sounds like the focus would be income tax on this one.
I think it makes sense. Sales tax is another one, but is
way
it
more volatile? Way more volatile too.
What about DC did a tax on every time you used a plastic bag at a grocery store? It cost you 5 cents. Does Pennsylvania have something like that yet?
No.
And I say that because the funds generated from that were specifically used to clean up the Anacostia River, and it worked.
Right, but what was the total on it? It was like millions, right? We're talking.
Oh yeah, it generated.
Not the same as education.
Yeah, education's hundreds of millions. You know, it's.
But I mean, if every community does that,
I'd run the numbers for sure.
It's at least something additional to that community. That the 5 cents for a bag, per bag, you get 5 bags. It's 25 cents. Okay, if that's going to hurt you, you probably need to be getting food for free anyway.
Well, there's a lot of people that would say that you're punishing people. I mean, everyone's going to have a demographic that they're going after. Some people would say that
punishing people for not using reusable bags.
Right, but reusable bags cost a lot of money, and poor people can't buy them. So that it's like we get into that kind of situation. I think that gets tricky. What is Governor Shapiro's like? What is his? I mean, I know he's been more for school choice than general Democrats have been, as far as like he's definitely been way more on that side of things than Democrats across the country are. Like, obviously I assume he's part of this funding problem and solution. What's he presenting, or is he even rallying for something specific right now?
I can't say specifically what he's chosen to do. I know that at one point he was talking about being in support of potentially including school vouchers into the whole situation. There's been the big controversy is that not everyone who's providing an education through one of those vouchered schools has all the same criteria for the education they're providing. So that's been where the big controversy has been. He stepped away from that voucher idea.
Is that a huge problem though? Like if people are choosing to go to that school though?
Well, if they're assuming that their child will be provided all the same quality education and all of the resources that they would get at the public school, and then that school isn't actually following through with it, then that's where that would be a problem.
The other concern about that was you get a voucher for X amount of tax dollars to go to send your kid to a different school district.
Yeah.
What happens when that school district sends you a bill for the difference?
Well, they normally wouldn't be, because they're.
But I mean, see this going. All kinds of taxes go up and never come back down. Price of gas goes up and never comes back down. And by the way, did I say it's back below $3 a gallon in Florida? Told you, Magas.
I saw $2.99 last week. I went to
$2.85
the other day for a meeting, and I saw $2.99 on my way.
Yeah, I mean, my thought on the voucher thing is that at least lets parents move and say, hey, this school's not doing what they're supposed to do. So it at least gives some. I like having parents more involved in the school stuff than not. I think there's right ways to do it and wrong ways to do it, but it does seem like it would solve these property taxes around this specific school. That money goes directly here and nowhere else, and that would at least let parents go, well, I'd rather take it to the school district that's one over. It doesn't even have to be charter or private or anything like that.
Well, the voucher issue where it was a problem was that it was private schools. So it would be people who could afford to pay for the private schools anyway would then get a voucher that goes
right.
to
But
pay
why is
part
that
of
a
their
problem
tuition.
if we're saying we want to pay for education? Why not if we say that education is important, we say we want to fund it. We want to say, let's pick the number, whatever it is, like $15,000 per student or something we spend now. I think on average in the country. I could be wrong about that number. Don't quote me. But we say, here's your $15,000. If someone wants to go to a $30,000 school and pay the $15,000 difference, like, I don't really care if that's if that's the decision those parents make, or if they want to go somewhere that just is that and they don't get the extra bill like Yergz is talking about. That feels fine to me. It just feels like there should be some sort of way for there to be mobility, especially when you look at, I mean, I don't always trust issue polling, but like, school choice is very, very popular. It's very popular with poor people. It's very popular with minorities. It's popular across the board, demographics, parties. I don't know why we're not talking more about it when it comes to funding, but.
Yeah, I got to cut in because we got to take a break. Rain, you've got to run, or can you stay around a little bit? Because you might actually enjoy the next segment, or at least part of it.
I'm supposed to meet somebody at 12:30. That's about 15 minutes away from me. So
when we can,
probably
nice talking to you.
Should run. But I want to throw one last thing. Cyber schools is another part where that voucher thing, but we can't get into that. That's where the pricing's way
Mars
different.
from Psycho and the Psychic will be joining us. We're going to be signing off from WTAN in the process and picking up WWPR. They join us at noon. WTN Network is only with us for one of the 2 hours today, so we're going to say goodbye to everybody there, unless you want to come over to yergzradio.com or go to mastiff.media and check out any of our available social media options where you can see the video. Don't forget, this Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern, or excuse me, 8 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. We'll be right back here. Wherever you can get us, we'll be here with election night results. And we'll be back on KSHP, Tan Talk, WWPR, and DJY and we're also saying goodbye to them, by the way, and WDJY in Atlanta. So tune in here. We're going to have Results Central operating. I've got one monitor right now, but the other three will be up and running, I promise you. And we will be here for that. Check back then on Tuesday. Rain, thank you for joining us, and best of luck to you on Tuesday.
Thank you. Thank you for your endorsement, and thanks, guys, for the
Absolutely.
conversation.
Hopefully we'll start getting something done in Pennsylvania again. All right, gang. It's Up the Middle. We'll be back after this. Music. It's coming. Oh, why is it not?
Hey, gang. This is Yergz from Up the Middle.
Every Friday,
11 a.m. right here on the Tan Talk Network.
Wow.
Join us this Tuesday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern till 11. We'll have a special edition of Up the Middle right here on WTAN and WDCF for election results as they come in. This Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern till 11, right here on the Tan Talk Network. See you there.
All right, and that got us till noon. So, welcome, WWPR. You're listening to Up the Middle. We have a guest with us today, guest host. Philip Blackett is with us. Now, picture this. Conservative, Harvard educated. Your camera's mirrored, isn't it?
Oh yeah, but I
You
was
just
pointing
showed a wedding ring.
I was pointing to my hand. I was pointing to
Okay. Well, that, yeah.
the color of my hand.
A black man, because we all know, because he says it, Donald says it, the blacks love me. The Puerto Ricans love me.
And clearly Barack hates me. So
Yeah. So, but yeah, he is a Trump supporter. And so he's our resident Trump expert for today. And are you going to be joining us on Tuesday too? I forget what you would.
I will be on to start the hour at 8.
That one. Okay. Yeah. Because some are coming on first and some are coming on last. So cool. All right. What about you, Blake? Are you going to be able to?
I think so. We need to talk about it for sure. I'm so indecisive about what I want to do. I'm like, does anyone want to listen to me talk so I'd probably come join you for a little bit. And I think I'll just hop in on Instagram stories or something when I have something interesting to say, but I don't think we're going to know that night. And so I'm like,
the
later. Wrong about that. But I think it's going to come down to Pennsylvania, and we will not have those mail-in ballots counted on Tuesday night. So
we're now, and for the next couple of minutes, we got to put politics aside. And not, I mean, like when I say aside, I don't mean like Phil's a Trump supporter. We're not trying, no politics whatsoever, because our next guest is my co host every Thursday for Psycho and the Psychic. And she is not political, like at all. She will spank you if you talk about politics. And it's not a sexy type of spanking. I've gotten it. I've gotten the tongue lashing. Welcome everybody. Mars,
You're so
Marcella,
funny.
the lovely Marcella Mars, as we call her. She's my co-host on Thursdays, same time, 11 to noon, on all the same channels, networks, and whatever else. For Psycho and the Psychic, where we talk about the LGBT community, autism spectrum folks, single parents. What am I missing? There's got to be something else.
Supernatural events, phenomena.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because this lady knows her stuff. She knows how to do it, what to do, when to do it, when to stop, whatever.
You're so funny.
And
Happy birthday.
for that, thank you, dear. And am I getting a reading today, or are you just going to
are.
read?
No, you're gonna get. I
There it
always
is.
have the cards with me.
So, should I tell people about the December reading first? That's pretty much
And
coming
you
to.
always do. You can, but I'm going to comment on the same way.
Well, yeah. I mean, so she doesn't even remember any of the story that I tell, which allows me to like fudge it
Indulge.
occasionally if I need to, but I won't get busted. But one of the things she told me would happen in this calendar year was a positive, major financial shift. Now, as is so often the case, they don't necessarily know, oh, you're going to win the lottery. It just was, a positive. I know you're going to have, good economic things happening. Fast forward to the end of September, and we had Hurricane Helene. Well, that was definitely a major financial shift. But remember, and this was actually my concern, and she clarified. I said, well, is it going to be a good shift or a bad shift? And she said, no, a good positive shift for you. Fast forward to September, the end of September, we have Hurricane Helene. I lose virtually everything. But in the process, learn that I will be able to, with the insurance money and possibly even with some additional funds from FEMA, rebuild not just the inside of this house, but on top of it. Instead of doing the first floor, that's pretty much going to be, it's gutted right now, and that's pretty much where we're stopping. Once we start getting funds, we're going to remove the roof, put on a second floor, and then a third floor.
Does this mean you're going to get to build like your dream studio, and I'm going to be jealous, Yergz?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But
That's the point.
not before you pay me, right?
Is that what? Yeah, that's coming to.
It's a kickback.
Hopefully, that's maybe we're going to see that in the reading today.
Well, whether or
But
not I'm going to get paid.
this-
Okay.
This lady knows what she's talking about. She knows what she's doing, and you can. I got you here somewhere. Where you at? I used to. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Marcella.com. I spelled you with a Z. Do you spell Mars with an S or a Z? Because we use a lot of Z's around here.
It doesn't make a difference.
Okay. Then I'm going to leave it consistent with like the whole branding stuff. Is
It
Matt
means the same either way. You
Matt
ready?
just checked out earlier, and we lost a co-host, but yes, go, lay it on me.
Cell phone signals, man. We're in 2024, and you still can't get a good cell signal.
All right.
Because you live in a swamp.
Matt's in Ohio.
Who even knows about Ohio?
Wow.
Sketchy cell coverage for Matt still.
So Ross,
Yes. What do you got?
Wheel of Fortune. Things are definitely changing for you, and you are putting in the hard work with the Seven of Pentacles. However, there's this lady here, and you don't mess with this lady. This lady says she will have your back as long as you do what you're supposed to do.
That's Mars.
I never thought of myself as the high priestess, but okay. It's your reading. So and Luna's laughing over here.
How's Luna doing? She
Luna,
feeling
how
better?
are you doing? Horrible. She said horrible because she's
Oh,
almost a teenager. So
yeah, but
how are you
she's also
feeling?
had pneumonia all week.
She had pneumonia. She is so much better.
Good,
The cough is still kind of, it's not really wet, but it's that, I don't know, it's just kind of weird. But she's doing a lot better. Thank you.
good, good.
It's Uncle Ross's birthday. Ew. Happy birthday, Uncle Ross. There you
Thank
go.
you, Switch.
There's building, but it's not just building. This is about being, this is about really fortifying your surroundings. Because there's going to be a lot of criticism and kickback because of that.
Welcome to my world.
But it's going to be a home. It's definitely going to be something. Love that for you. And you are manifesting everything you need. There goes the hard work again, and the rewards coming after it. I'm still looking for where I'm going to get paid, so just hold on a minute.
Okay. That should tell you enough right there.
Sorry, you know, I got to tell you, Ross, that even though I speak to spirits and I speak to God and I have ghosts all over the house, I will see it when, when I see it is when I will believe it. Doesn't matter what the tarot tells me.
You're referring to the paycheck.
Oh, yeah.
Smart lady.
Yeah.
Super smart. But yeah, it is coming up for me. There go the offers and the opportunities and me being super happy and gaining perspective on this. This is me, Queen of Wands. I'm definitely getting paid. I hope it's by you.
Well, yeah.
Might have to find opportunity somewhere else. There goes that divine feminine again. I'm telling you, Ross, there's something going on here with you. But let's see what else they want to say about the year to come. You know, I got the little one learning this. Yeah, it's
You
a lot
think
of fun.
she's got that skill?
Well, I learned when I was 15. She's 12. She's going to be better than me.
But is it just something that you can learn, or is it something that's really representative?
Anybody can learn to do anything. Anybody can learn to do anything. I don't necessarily need this. I've talked to you about this. I don't need the tarot. I just genuinely like tarot cards. And it helps me to disperse the energy because with my fibromyalgia, sometimes this will beat me up. That one reading takes all the energy in my body and then I'm in bed for 2 days. But with the cards, it makes it easier because I just throw all that energy in there and then it gives you the messages you need to hear. Oh boy. Maybe not so good, hun.
Okay. What is it?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe not so good. Let's see.
I wanna hear it.
You want to hear it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, just okay then.
Go ahead.
New beginning. This is the Fool. It's like a fool's errand with you. You want to build your McMansion down there? Have at it. May not be the best idea, but remember, you guys remember I said that may not be the best idea, but you're going to do it anyway. Problem is that it might not be the best idea. This is going to crash and burn. This is total hitting rock bottom.
Okay.
Well, the good thing about rock bottom is there's no place else to go, right? But up, except that you're going to have to be making some changes. And I'm not sure that you're ready to do them because the tower is here and the tower is a forced change. If you don't make it, the universe is saying to you, well, here I come, going to strike lightning and you're going to have to make these changes. Best thing about the tower is when the dust settles and everything clears, you have more perspective on what you're really supposed to do. And hopefully you subscribe to this guy right here. 6 of Wands is really a success card. It's being totally victorious and everybody saying, hey, you did well. They are telling me there is romance in your future. Don't ask me a timeline.
Good.
It's right here. Somebody is headed your way.
On
And
a
he-
horse, no less.
Well,
Hey, if you see a guy on a horse, Yergz, just saying, pay attention.
Grab him.
it not necessarily a horse. Maybe a white van. I don't know. We may never see you again. Remember when I told you you should have been a girl dad?
Yeah.
I see that coming too. You being
So what about-
very maternal.
Well, what about Shady? The puppy is a female.
Like a real girl dad.
Okay.
Might be time. Might be time.
All
After
right.
you build your McMansion. But good things because this is taking all emotion out of the situation that you're in right now, really just using your head. That means stop yelling at people and then coming into some financial independence. So,
Commercials.
and then last card is the sun. There's clarity, perspective, happiness, everything that you've wanted. It's just going to take a little time.
Nice.
You have this recorded now.
Do. And
You do.
we'll be putting this back on social media, into the podcast, and also on the UG.media in London on Tuesdays at 2 local time. I think that's like 9 Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific.
Well,
wanna-
remember to play it on your next birthday.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
I don't have a paycheck by his next birthday, you guys won't see me here.
I
I
think
won't,
it seems fair.
if I haven't monetized yet either. But very
But you
cool.
don't give up. I like that. You don't give up.
You had a very good event this past weekend.
I did a party last weekend. I read close to 100 people. So I was completely drained for a few days.
Yeah.
But it was nice. It was nice. I even got hit on by some young man who told me he was going to dump his girlfriend for me, and I said, "Don't do that. You're never going to reach my level." So,
And not only that, like, how is that supposed to be a selling point?
well,
Oh, great.
Like Blake's going to dump his boyfriend for me. Like, I'm never going to be that boyfriend that he's going to dump for the next guy.
Bad example, probably Yergz, but
You're the only guy. It was.
he's an Aquarius, and I really like
always-
Aquarians.
this is always my deal with like if you cheat on someone and then like marry that person, like how's that person not always going like, wait a minute, but they they
Yeah.
left the last person for me.
How you get them is how you lose
It'd
'em.
always be inside my head. It would be hard for me to
Exactly.
put full body into that.
Well, no, it was an interesting read. She came to me and I like kept saying was heartache, heartache. And I said to her, listen, this relationship you're in, it's not going to work out. And she says, but why? Tell me why. And I said, we don't have enough time.
Hey,
for a
gang.
full reading. So I read her and then she brings him to me an hour later. She goes, tell him what you told me. I said, I'm not doing that. If he wants a reading, he gets his own private reading. But he says, oh, she can sit here because she was very pushy. Scorpio. No, she
Yeah.
was a Leo. Sorry. Just as pushy. She was a Leo.
Yeah.
And he said he was an Aquarius. I said, I love Aquarians. I really do. I don't know how, but they get under my skin. And he said, he says, what am I going to do to her? And I said, well, it's all here. It's saying that you're not going to step up and be the person she needs. So, she might as well just get rid of you now. And he says, what's your sign? I said, Sagittarius. And he says, you love Aquarians? I said, yeah. He says, good. I'll just dump her and date you. And I said, no, that's okay. Yeah, I don't need that. Plus, Aquarians don't like to focus on their relationship. They focus way too hard on work and money.
So I got a similar negative reading when I was a kid. My
Here we
aunt
go. Oh, my God.
and
Let
came
it
back
go.
and said, well, no, but I used it to my advantage. I was at this time I was into being a Major League Baseball umpire or an NHL referee. Yet my aunt comes to my dad's place, my mom and dad's place one night. I just came from a psychic. She says, I'm known to my family as Rusty. She says, Rusty is going to work for the government and die a violent death. And I had no intention of ever working for the government at that age. Fast forward to my professional career. I'm now retired from the Secret Service. And I've been in situations where I could have died. But earlier in my career, I remembered that reading. I said, okay, you know what? I need to be careful. I need to do my job. And as a Secret Service agent, it's very possible to die a violent death. But I kept all my protectees safe for 21 years and didn't have to do what some colleagues of mine did this past July. So a negative reading can really bring about a positive result, I think.
Here's my problem with that reading, Ross. It's incredibly invasive to read a child.
Oh, yeah. And if
So
you
I
know,
don't know who this psychic was, but we're just not allowed to do that. You can't just read a child without the parent's permission.
yeah, I,
No
I,
one's allowed to read Luna. When people try, it's like I put a hard stop. I'm sorry, no, it's not happening.
yeah. And as a good parent, I think that's a good idea. And I was probably Luna's age or younger, probably younger. But I'm ultimately as invasive and inappropriate and unethical as it was as an adult. I was grateful for it. And similarly with the financial reading that you gave me, certainly a positive ending, but holy wow, the means to get there have been educational, to say the least.
I'm never wrong.
And oh no, that I don't doubt you. But um, yeah, if that's my last hurricane, that's good. And it's not going to be. That's why I'm redoing the house in the way that I'm doing it. But
Mansion to get knocked down by the next hurricane.
told the inspectors and such from the county what I want to do and why. I said I'm going to die in this house, meaning I'm
That's
going
the
to
violent death.
so that I can live here the rest of my life. And I told him, I said I'm going to die in this house, just hopefully not soon, because of not preparing for a hurricane or whatever else. So yeah, check us out.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket, sweetheart. Okay, this is a grief card.
Okay.
And then burdens. Just be careful.
Okay. And I know some, and it's not about the association. There's this stuff matches. I'm convinced she knows her stuff, and yeah, she's great at it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Happy
I
birthday
like
to
to
you.
tell people I am not always right, but I am never wrong.
I got to think. Wow, that's going to be some toilet time. Wow,
Mm-hmm.
I was right, but I'm never wrong.
I'm not always right, but I am never, ever wrong.
All right. Okay.
Don't let me break your brain before you get back to your talk.
Yeah, I can smell the smoke already.
Well, happy birthday, gentlemen.
Thank you, dear.
Nice to meet you. Nice to talk to you again. I'm out.
All right, dear. Thank you.
Okay.
I will see you in a little less than a week.
Bye.
I'll talk to you before that.
Yep.
Ms. Mars, everybody. Love you, sweetie. Thank you.
Bye.
Mars.
Good luck with a new kid at 53.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. I just thought,
Sounds exhausting.
I've got sleeping over there. The other one's over here. Is Shady, 17-week-old puppy. That is actually my son's. But he's doing things with his life right now that maybe him getting a puppy was not the best idea. And, his dad can help out with it. And if she just becomes mine because she's so attached to who we call her older brother, and that's my dog, that, I think we'll still all be one family and be just fine.
Love a puppy.
I can.
We
also
had one
go
on
back-
our we puppy sat for like 20 minutes last night because a friend had their new puppy and kind of just was talking to us for a second, just fell asleep on our porch on the steps. and they were about to go trick or treating more, and we were like, "You just leave the dog here. It's asleep. We're cuddling it." And they just went trick or treated for like 20 minutes, came back, and we got to cuddle a puppy for 20 minutes. It's the best.
Now, do you do just the standard door to door, whether you know the person or not, or do you only go to people that you know?
No, our neighborhood is like all out. It is, for the most part, people are on their porch with the candy. Like you don't even have to ring a doorbell, kind of thing. So
I've heard about that too. That's fun because you sit there with like a glass of wine and. Yeah.
I mean, there's like this sort of cove of houses that sort of face each other, and they went like all out on the decorations. This one house had literally a gigantic sort of blow up. Think of like the big blow up football arches that like the team would come running through, but it was the screen guy, with the knife. I mean, it was incredible. Like we had some people go all out on the decorations. I made it look like our house is on fire. I got like a drop cloth and some lights and fans and stuff, and made it look like the house is on fire with these skeletons. Yeah, it's fun. It's we have a local guy that's got a shop where he's got a ranch. He's got meat and stuff, and he did burgers out of a bus last night. So it's just a fun. No, I'm going. We get candy anywhere. Anyone's giving out candy, we're getting candy. Now, my wife will try to throw most of it away. I will try to bargain with the children, partly taking taxes from them for my candy. But yeah, it's fun. It was a good night.
Why would she want to throw out the candy?
She's doesn't. We don't need that much sugar. She's probably the smart one, but I'm like, come on, let the kids have a good amount of the candy, and we'll make it last for the next couple months. You know what I mean? Because it's such an easy thing to go, hey, if you can do that for me, you can have a piece of candy. I'm like, a piece of candy a day for the next couple months might make my life really easy. So that's how I think of it.
Yeah. As I'm looking at some of the text messages to see if anybody else is coming in. All right, so
back. We're going to talk predictions. Where are we going next, Yergz?
Yeah, let's. Which map are you using? 270 or?
I mean, I like the problem with the real clear one lets you switch easier. The 538 one only lets you go red or blue once you go red or blue, and so you can't flip something back to undecided if you want to. So I don't know. It's not a huge difference between them, but
I've been using this one, and I think it's just the downside is you just got to click on it multiple times.
Yeah, but that's fine. I mean, it's totally doable.
So here's how things are looking right now, by polls and what have you.
Yeah, those are our swing states. Although a couple of them I think are not as swingy as we think they are. But
yeah, and I think some of them are in more recent have become a little bit more of a toss-up than what everybody else is showing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the polls have only gotten tighter. Whether we believe them or not, they've only gone in one direction. They've only gotten tighter since in the last 5 or 6 weeks. So if they could all be wrong, but they're all moving the same directions. And so to me, that says something. We don't know if it's going to be close.
So I still don't think it's going to be close. I think a lot of the early voting is going to go in Camo's favor.
Well, let me clarify what you mean by that. Do you mean you don't think it will be close national popular vote? You think it won't be close because all the swing states will go one direction or the other, even if the vote count is very close, electorally it'll look larger and not close? Or like, what do you mean? I'm curious.
So I'm saying a landslide would be 320 or more.
Right. I don't.
That's my number.
But
49 states to 1
for a landslide. No, but we know that's not.
Not Reagan 84 style. What do you? So,
but electoral college landslide 320.
Okay,
what you need. Because for every electoral college vote you get, your opponent doesn't. So it's really also a 2-point swing, and it's also -1 for them.
Yeah.
So a landslide 320. I don't think it's going to be that juicy. I think Kamala's going to win decisively, but not a landslide.
I would say it's impossible to
get-
get 320. You'd have to make every swing state blue, and she'd have to swing a red
Yeah.
state to get to 320. I mean, I would say that's impossible.
There's one of two red states that I think she might actually do.
Who?
And because she's been there, I've seen a big increase in the past couple of weeks in both of them. Actually, in the past week, especially in both of them. And I also see like some other negativity. But first, I want to, because he's not here, and I don't want to forget about him, I want to go through Matt's. Matt is saying, and he doesn't really have the shades. I don't think it's going to be close on some of I think it's going to be close on some of these, but Matt is saying, are you seeing the screen, by the way?
Yep. Yeah, I am. Yep.
Matt is saying, Matt left it dark. I don't think it's going to be that good, but Matt is saying she's going to get Nevada, Colorado, and New Mexico, a little bit more of a shoe-in. He's also, I mean, this is a Democrat talking, but he's also going for Arizona and Georgia.
Okay, you lost me at that point.
This would be going towards what I would call a landslide too.
So, there we go. But there we go. Let's do those. I would, if that happens, it's going to be the light blue. It's going to be close in those states.
So then he has the blue wall holding. I'm
right. If you get the blue wall too, that seems close to a landslide.
That'd be a landslide. And look,
he's going all out.
And look, I think that this is.
I think he knew he wasn't going to be here for this segment. So.
He didn't want to defend himself.
Hey, here's the thing. I'll give him crap for North Carolina. I don't think North Carolina has a chance of going blue. I also don't think Arizona has a chance. But it's not a chance. I don't mean it can't happen. I mean that
he's your 320, right?
So yeah, he's one shy of my landslide.
Yeah, because you'd have to win every one of those swing states, and then he'd have to get to 320. Now, this would be a landslide. People would call this would be more decisive than either of the last two elections.
Yep.
So here's.
And by the way, are we noting these down? I love for us to have everyone's predictions, and then come election, we figure out who's the closest.
This is recorded on various social media channels. So,
okay,
So for those on social audio or radio, Democratic candidate for Congress in Ohio, a red state, Matt Deemer, has said that Kamala Harris will get Nevada. And on the map, you'll see that I made them light.
He's saying, Matt is saying he will get all 7 swing states.
Everything.
Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. I think that's
what I think is possible and even likely is that it's going to be with those that are left in the Great Lakes. And this is, a little bit of, what mine's going to be. For those that are left in the Great Lakes, I think it's going to be a winner take all. I think if you're going to get Wisconsin and Michigan, you're also going to get Pennsylvania, because too often, even prior, it would have also included Ohio, although in recent years, that's no longer the case. Too often, they're all too close together.
Yep. I think I actually saw a story on it too, Yergz, that it's like in past elections, almost like 8 or 9 elections, they show Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, and every one of them, they voted the same.
Yeah, until 2016. That was like
like they voted Democrat up until 2016, but even in 2016, all 3 states voted for Trump.
Yes,
so it's almost like they all vote in unison. So if you get a sense of if Wisconsin's going a certain way, you almost can think Michigan and Pennsylvania are probably going to follow.
Yeah. Now here's the thing. I think that here's what's tricky about all of these maps, and I think the biggest caveat is that I think things change as you focus on them. So no one thought Donald Trump would swing the blue wall. In fact, that's like the reason Hillary Clinton lost is because she just wasn't campaigning in Michigan, Wisconsin, and stuff. And they had bad information about how things were moving there. The difference is Joe Biden's campaign did not make that mistake in 2020 and swung that blue wall back. Well, there's even more focus on that blue wall in 2024 than there was in 2020, and there was almost no focus on it in 2016. As you start focusing in on something, and the entire race is looking at really Pennsylvania. I mean, that's like when we talk about it, it's like everyone's theory is that Michigan and Wisconsin are going the way of Pennsylvania. I mean, I don't know. This is kind of silly when you get into the kind of inside baseball of it. But what I think the difference is that now that there is so much focus on the blue wall states, I think there is a potential for them to not all go the same way, because the Puerto Rico thing might affect Pennsylvania more than it affects Michigan and Wisconsin, because there are more Puerto Rican voters in Pennsylvania than there are in Wisconsin. And so I think that you might not. My prediction is that I'm not confident enough to say that, like, oh, someone's going to run the table one way or the other, or it's going to be split or whatever. I just think that if the polls are, let's say they're as accurate as they could be, and they were 1 point off. Let's just say they were within them. Their margin of error is 1 point. Well, when you're in a statistical tie in all those polls, 1 point is like a landslide in any one of these states. So, like, there's no automatic recount if Pennsylvania is won by a point by Harris or Trump. Like, we're not in, like, we will know Tuesday night if someone wins by 1 point in one of those states. It will be a quick election. We will know Tuesday night, Wednesday morning at the latest.
Right.
It's when we get into these like half a percentage points. That's when I think Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Arizona all have automatic recounts that happen if they're within a half a percentage point on the counts. So that's where, like, those are automatic recounts. And so, if the polls are accurate, which we don't know if they are, because they underestimated Trump in 2016 and 2020, if they overcorrected, then
I think
Trump's in problem. But if they've underestimated Trump again, which would seem very hard to do 3 elections in a row, but then again, if you like, oh, look, we made a mistake in 2016 and 2020, I could very easily see that every polling thing overestimated Trump this time. I could see them swinging the wrong way, but we will not know that until, and so I think that it's basically, I can make a map and I can show you a map that I think might happen, but it is as much of a guess as anything, because there's just like,
we're all placing my guess based on you're heavier on polls than I am. I look at a lot of other key elements. Philip, what do you think? How's this thing going to? You're next. How's this going to turn?
Yeah. So I think what's encouraging to me is, like, Trump typically underperforms in the polls just by nature. 2016, 2020, and I would argue 2024 as well. If you're going off of what Blake is saying, the first question that goes off in my mind is the polls are based on what people are saying. And so the question that comes off of my mind is, if Trump is truly showing that he is doing much better than he did in 2016 and much better than 2020, is even leading in some of these swing states, is that something where you have people that are more comfortable sharing who they want to vote for now?
I think that's for sure happening.
And you still may have people that, because of how nasty things have gotten, you still may have a contingent that still don't want to be public on who they want to be voting for. And they may just say something, but they really are thinking, I'm going to vote for Trump privately, but they're not going to say it publicly. So just
there's the projection, because I think it's going to be just the opposite of what you said.
Okay.
I think there's people thumping their chest about Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that, and they know that whether it's for his involvement in January 6th or Stop the Steal or any of the things that are just questionable about how most Americans are going to say they want out of their president, I think they're going to, talk a good game, but I don't think my dad made this point. I got 2 points to make. One was a guest we had on, a guy named Philip Repko, was an English teacher of mine, and he was on Both Sides Now with Jane and me. And he said, you've seen people get off the Trump train, but you've never seen them get back on.
Yeah, but that's not true.
That's going to add up.
They have, though. I mean, you're exactly, like, the data shows that.
You're telling me John Kelly's taking his words back? I can think of one.
No, not John Kelly, but I'm saying, like, I'm telling you, I know lots of people. I know lots of people that were anti-Trump in the primary, and they have come way back on the train. Like, and that's most. I think that's most Republican voters. I think the problem is we are not this election is not going to be decided by normal Republican voters or normal Democratic voters. Donald Trump is counting on young men that didn't vote in 2020 or 2022 midterms to vote in 2024. He has to get those people to show up. If they don't show up, he won't win. I think that's too big of a gamble. I think that Kamala investing in hoping that women show up for her who are a more reliable voting bloc, and there are more of them. 52, 53% of the country is women. That makes a difference when we're talking about 10,000 votes.
You're both, well, I'll say happily, I'll presume, and I see no reason to say not. So I'll say you're both happily married men.
Yep.
Straight, happily married men. Do you piss off your wife?
In what way? Like just ever?
My wife puts the headphones on when I listen to Hannity at night for sure. She tunes out when the 5 is on. She tunes out.
But point being, what is the saying? Happy wife,
happy life.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Here's what I would say to that point, though. I think it's interesting.
Like a woman scorned, and that whole row your vote.
See, I don't think that is as. I don't know. I'm. To me, Kamala just has a better group of people to more reliably vote for her because it's college-educated people, it's women, it's all these people that voted. So what they're trying to do in the polls, from what I understand, to better account for that Trump vote that they didn't in 2016 and 2020, is to get a little further down the questions of like, okay, if they say they don't really like either, then they're like, okay, but like if you really had to choose, or if it came to, and they're asking follow-up questions that make people go like, well, I guess, yeah, in that case, I think for Trump. The problem is they're asking that of people. A year ago, I would have said Trump could not add people to his coalition. I told you that, Yergz, and I think I was wrong in the sense that he added some demographics that I don't think anyone thought he was even going to go after, and that was, but they're risky demographics to go after because it's, like I said, it's younger men who have admitted in the polling they didn't vote in 2020 or 2022. That means they're less like, even if they say they're likely to vote, they are much more likely to be someone that gets busy or forgets about it, or the weather's bad and they don't go, or work comes up. Like they are just less likely to show up on Tuesday and vote. And so I think that and I think it's pretty obvious that Democrats' ground game is better than Donald Trump's, who's outsourced it to a couple different PACs. And there have been problems with those PACs.
And by the way, she's been outraising him from the individual donors.
But that doesn't matter to me at all. I actually don't think that
it does. And
Hillary Clinton outraised Donald Trump by hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm pretty sure.
She's the first one to have broken $1 billion.
Yeah,
which would be the reason why I would think if she doesn't have a landslide, then you have to question how effective was that funding then? Because if you're outspending somebody that by that margin, then you're saying, okay, the correlation should be the more money I have, the more
we're presuming she's outspending, and I would have to. I hope she's outspending.
Yes, she absolutely.
But more importantly, she's outraised Trump.
Okay,
more than 2 to 1.
Doesn't matter though.
He was in the 400 millions. Recently, he was in the 400 millions. She's over $1 billion. She's at like 1.2 billion or something like that.
Yeah, fundraising doesn't matter though. It really doesn't.
The point about that is, and I said this before, that when it comes from the Fisher family in Oklahoma, the Blackett family, where you at near Orlando or something in Florida, the Yergz family in Florida, not from super PACs, but from families that, remember, the economy's so bad right now, they need that money for groceries, but they're sending it to her anyway. That's a vote.
Yeah, but that's a vote that she's going to get no matter what. And that's not who's going to decide this election. People that donated to campaigns are not deciding this election. Those are reliable voters. This is going to be decided by unreliable voters.
When we've broken $1 billion for the first time, is it?
Yeah, because here's the thing: we're spending money on things that I don't think are showing that they're worth.
People, like you said, benefiting from that. Is she benefiting from that solid ground game?
So here's one:
getting more people knocking on doors. I just got 4 emails. I'm going to 4 events this weekend to canvass for her. I didn't even know how I got them.
Yergz, but that's kind of proves my
live
point.
Events that she's going to be at. Now all of a sudden I'm going knocking on doors.
Your volunteering knocking on doors is more valuable than a small dollar donation, is what I'm saying. Is that like that matters and the donations don't. I'm not saying they don't matter. I'm saying they are not going to be indicative of how this race goes, because I'm pretty sure that I know Hillary Clinton outspent Donald Trump, and plus you cannot factor in things like free
But
media.
you're also, when you talk about that she outspent Donald Trump, you're right. And it didn't matter. But a lot of those funds came from the super PACs.
No, they were just small dollar. I mean, ever since Barack Obama changed the game in 2008, in 2012, it has been small dollar donations since then to PACs specifically. So when you talk about small dollar donations, you got to remember most of the small dollar donations are going to PACs so that they can be unlimited. And because we've changed campaign finance law where there can be some coordination now, specifically with Get Out the Ground game. So they can actually outsource so that they're not wasting money on both doing the same thing. So we now say that you can coordinate with your PAC to say, okay, this PAC is doing our ground game and knocking on doors, and so that the campaign's not doing that anymore. You still can't coordinate, but there's some coordination now. I think the problem for Kamala Harris specifically here, like I think they both have made gambles, and so whose gamble is going to work out, right? We don't know, but I think Kamala's gamble is that she thinks she can pull away something like 7 to 10% of these disaffected Republicans that voted for Nikki Haley, or that's why she's got Liz Cheney on the trail. That's what she's banking it on. She's hoping she can pull just a few of those that don't just become, I got someone that didn't vote in 2020 that voted for me this year. That's you're actually flipping someone potentially that voted for Trump.
Here's the thing about that very topic. How often, and I know we've seen it, but not on this level, where you've seen the Republican voters taking part in a Democratic commercial in mass saying, I'm not voting. Now, all of a sudden, I'm seeing the former Democrats that are voting Republican. It's a poorly done commercial. It was done at the last minute, and it's with a handful of people.
Yeah. But I mean, but certainly Kamala's going after that change voter more like than Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is trying to go after people that didn't vote in 2020. Specifically is who he thinks he can get to turn out for him.
I just don't see anything different in Donald Trump, that if I didn't vote in 2016 or 2020, what's different now that I want to vote for him?
Your wallet, probably. I mean, honestly, I'm just saying, like, it's the handling of the pandemic. It's the handling of these. These are going to be people that do not pay attention. They don't listen to shows like this. They're not reading the newspaper daily. They're not watching Fox News. Like, all of their political news comes down. It trickles all the way down into, like, it pops up on, someone sends it to them on Instagram or something, or they see it in their feed, like, or they hear about it at the water cooler. These are very, very low propensity, very low. I'm just going to call them what they are. They do not care about politics. They probably can't name the 3 branches of the government. That's who's going to decide this election potentially for Donald Trump, if he can get those people to show up and vote. I just think it's a risky proposition. But like I said, Kamala's is also risky. She's trying to be everything to everyone, and I don't think it's going to work. I think that
I agree that she needs to she needs to say, here's what we're going to do, and be a boss.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, my turn to do just that. Philip, what do you got? Let's go. Do you want to go east to west? Do you want to do the Great Lakes first? Do you want to do the...
I'll go from west to east on this one. I think this one will probably be one for the record books. This would be my thought. I don't think it's going to be a Reagan-like landslide, but I do think this is going to be significant. And I'll preface this real quickly. I think primarily because for a good degree, you can say, hey, there are going to be a group of people that are going to vote for Trump no matter what.
Of course,
there's going to be a group of people that are going to vote for Kamala no matter what. So obviously, we're talking about the people that are truly undecided, that are literally making that decision up until election day, where certain events that have happened over the past few days, whether it's Puerto Rico, the garbage comment in response, the Mark Cuban, the Al Smith dinner, the Joe Rogan interview, when you're talking about trying to get younger males and this sort, a lot of that stuff we may not be able to materialize as far as what the impact is, but that could very much move the needle for those who are still undecided. With that being said, I do believe that those events are going to make a difference for those groups, to the point where this is where I look at it. I think Nevada is going red.
Okay. How red? 1, 2, or 3?
So I think it's going to be more of a lean.
Okay.
I
Just
think.
first degree red.
Yep. I think Arizona is going to be likely red.
So you're thinking that red.
Yep. I think
Okay.
because of how well he's been leading in the polls there, particularly, he's almost like 7-1 polls going towards Trump. That's probably going to head over. Plus, it being border state immigration. New Mexico is probably going to stay Democratic, so we're going to keep that blue.
Okay.
Moving on.
Definitely. Yeah.
Moving on to the blue wall, I do think that since past history, past 7-8 elections, you've had Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania voted in lockstep. I do think that's going to hold, and I do think it's going to be 2016 all over again. I think all three of them are going red.
How red?
I think Wisconsin is going to be lean.
Okay.
I think Michigan, given what's been happening recently, auto concern as far as jobs, Muslim vote, Arabs, I think it's going to be likely. That'd probably be the biggest surprise there. And then Pennsylvania is going to be really, really tight. I think it's ultimately, I think Kamala's going to have a lot of questions to answer about why she didn't pick Shapiro. I think that's going to make a difference.
Yeah. I mean, I this is right now, without even knowing what's going to happen Tuesday. Is it the most unforgivable thing ever if for Kamala Harris if she loses Pennsylvania right now? I mean, that's the dumbest thing she's ever done, right?
I think that'd be a huge question for her to answer. And with that being said, we're at 280. I think North Carolina, to Blake's point, I think it's going to stay red. And I think Georgia is going to be another surpriser to some degree. I think with Kemp aligning with Trump and them playing nice in the sandbox, I think that's going to be a lean red. So it's not exactly 320 to be a landslide to your definition, but I think it's going to be one where we're going to be above 300.
Okay. So I got to get a screen grab of this one too. And that's filled.
I've gone back and forth on this so much, Yergz, because I've hesitated to make a prediction just because I think it really is that close. But I think you're right. I think it could very well turn out that someone gets all 7 swing states. And I think that could be Trump or Harris right now.
Phil, do you have 2 T's in Blackett or just 1?
2.
Okay.
But, so I think that could happen. I think so. I don't think Matt's map is ridiculous. I don't think your map is ridiculous for Harris. I don't think Phil's is. I think that none of these are outrageous to me. Now, I think here's where I start from. I think North Carolina and Georgia are very safely red. I think that Trump has been consistently ahead in those polls more than the other ones.
Wait, which one again? Say that again.
I think North Carolina and Georgia, if the polls are, even if they're incorrect, if they're underestimating Trump's, but even if they're overestimating Trump's support, those are both outside of what, I think Georgia, the real clear average is 2.6 or something right now. So it's the largest lead he has in any of them. I care less about the external polls sometimes than I care about what campaigns are obviously seeing in their internal polls. It's very obvious to me that Casey in Pennsylvania and I can't remember the guy in Wisconsin, they're both running ads with Trump supporters in their ads for their Senate races. The only state in the last, I can't remember how many presidential elections, that has elected a different senator than the state went for the president is Maine, which is obviously an outlier because of Susan Collins and her unique sort of, she's one of those unique Republicans, just like Joe Manchin was a unique Democrat in West Virginia.
Yep.
So when they're worried about losing in their state and they're jumping on Trump's coattails to some degree in their ads they're running, to me, I go, that's got to be a 4-alarm fire for Democrats in those states. So I think that if they're worried about Michigan or if they're worried about like Wisconsin and Pennsylvania in the Senate races specifically, and I think it's pretty obvious that Harris is nervous about those states too. But then again, you're right. The Puerto Rico thing could erase that. Like that could erase that because they might have pissed enough people off. So I think North Carolina and Georgia very red. I think Arizona is also red. But really, Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania are the ones where I go, I really don't know. I think that those 4 states could all go the same way. But basically, no matter how the map turns out, it doesn't really matter what I do with Michigan and Wisconsin and Nevada. It really all boils down to Pennsylvania. So really mark the map however you want for Nevada, Wisconsin, and Michigan. It doesn't matter because whoever wins Pennsylvania at that point will win it. Because like you can make it be
this
where
is a scenario that, as people have been talking about, that she needs to do the sweep of the remaining Great Lakes stakes.
yeah, she has to sweep. I think
If you're saying that it comes down to Pennsylvania, we'll do a hypothetical and make that blue.
Yeah.
Barely.
Yeah.
She's only at 245.
Well, she'd be if you made
any one of these, even little old Nevada, puts him at 268.
Yeah, she basically has to win the blue wall unless she also she could switch it. She could say, for example, she could lose Michigan but win Arizona and Nevada if she wanted to. Those are the same number, about the same number. So my point is, I think it will come down to Pennsylvania. I think but that's my prediction, is that no matter how the map looks in whole. So like if I have to make a prediction, I'm going to say that Nevada goes to Trump. And then the blue wall stays to Harris, and it's 270. She literally gets exactly to 270. But I think it's also very likely that Trump wins the whole blue wall and it's over, or she wins the whole blue wall and Nevada and Arizona potentially. And it looks, and like, my point is, I think we could look like a blowout on next week and everyone will go, oh, the polls were so wrong. I'm like, no, they weren't. You had 7 50-50 coin toss elections that, like, let's say all those states, Harris wins by 1 point. That would be what is considered a handy win. Like I said, there's not going to be an automatic recount, but the perception would be if she runs that table and she's got 316 electoral votes or whatever, people are going to be like, well, this wasn't close. I'm like, well, yeah, it really was. I mean, I think that the lesson next week should not be learned. I do not think we're going to learn a lesson next week that the polls were off by 6 points across the board and that and that everyone's winning these states by 2 or 3 points. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Trump probably, I think he has the edge. I think that the closing of the polls, I think it's his race to potentially lose. So I really think it comes down to Pennsylvania. And I think if he wins Pennsylvania and wins the race because of it, then, oh gosh, Democrats are going to be in absolute disarray, pointing fingers at each other. Most of the blame, I think, should be put on Biden. I think that he's the reason that they're in this situation in the first place. He should have stepped down a year or more ago to say, I'm going to let there be a primary, and I did what I said I was going to do. And I think that would have cemented his legacy, but he didn't. And so I think it's going to be totally fair to blame him. I think it's also going to be fair to blame if she loses Pennsylvania and didn't pick Josh Shapiro, man, I don't really care what kind of personality vibe you had with Tim Walz. Like, you can. Yeah,
Josh Shapiro wanted to be co-president.
All right. Well, you don't have to. You can go back on your word. Like, he's not going to be disloyal to you. He's going to be a good Democrat and fall in line. And you know what? She would have been smart to let him be co-president. Maybe she would have gotten. People like me would have been like, maybe I vote for Kamala Harris if she has Josh Shapiro, who I know can actually do the job. But like, I don't trust her experience. Most people don't. And this whole election is coming down to, who do you trust more? People feel like they don't know Kamala Harris. People feel like they know Trump, good and bad. I think that they're like, well, they know him. And I think that some people are willing to go, yeah, I'll vote for him again, even though I think most of these attacks on his character are legit.
It'll be the last time you vote because you won't be voting in 2028.
See, I think that's BS. I think that's BS, Yergz. There's just no, like, I think he has authoritarian tendencies, but I don't think that there's any situation. I think the Democrats pretending. If you believe that, Yergz, and if you
look at the total number of people that have made that decision.
Okay, but Yergz,
before. That's not a red.
I think.
But
I think Blake does have merit in the sense of, and this is something I've thought about in my own head too, that probably is in the minds for a lot of voters. This election was going to be particularly significant because something that doesn't happen often was going to be in play.
Of course.
And Biden was going to keep running. You were literally going to have a referendum at the ballot of which president did you like better when he was in office.
Right.
You had time when you had 4 years as Trump as president, and then you also had time where you had 3.5 years of Biden. So it clearly was going to be which periods that you feel better for you and your family during that time.
Yeah.
Those were known variables. What is the unknown variable is what would happen if Kamala is in office, because she has been as a VP, but she has never been a president. And so for a lot of people, at least for me, that was definitely a key question to think of. Is like, okay, I had certainty and understand how was things like Trump, whether I liked it or not. Here's how things work for Biden, liked it or not. But there's so much haziness, so much nebulous with what Kamala stands for that I'm not sure when she's in the White House, if she's in there and she doesn't have to pander to or try to speak towards or try to contort herself a certain way to get votes or approval, when she has that safety of I'm in the office, you can't take me out, how is she really going to be? And I think that uncertainty is frightening for some people. I know it definitely is for me. Like, once you don't have to worry about votes and you're in the office and you could be who you truly want to be, what is Kamala going to be like, as opposed to a proven commodity in Trump and a proven commodity in Biden? I know what I'm getting.
Yeah, I think you're right. She just didn't do a good enough job separating herself from Biden. And that's been my whole point since literally the debate was you should throw him under the bus in every way you can. And like, you can be strategic about it. You can work with Biden on it if you want to. I mean, this is not unprecedented. This is Nancy Pelosi has always been the kind of person, when she was the Speaker of the House, she was like, I don't care what you say about me in your district. I don't care if you run ads that you're like anti-me. Like, as long as we win and we have more seats than we don't, I don't care what you say about me. Because she was a team player. She understood that having Democrats in seats is the important part. You got to win elections to be able to govern. Joe Biden's ego will not allow him to do that. But the truth is, there should have been a conversation between Harris and him that said, because here's the problem. Yergz, you're saying there's not going to be any elections in 2028 if Donald Trump becomes the president. Let's say they believe that too, because they certainly spout that all the time. There's comparisons to Nazi rallies and all this stuff, which I think is kind of ridiculous, but whatever.
No, I think it's spot on. I got to cut you because we're going to be cut off, and I'm going to go through mine real quick. I think Nevada is going to get squeaked out. I think New Mexico is going to remain likely and probably possibly even safe. Arizona, I think they're going to lose because they didn't utilize Mark Kelly enough. He is loved in Arizona, and he was one of the top 3 selections for vice president. And the fact that he wasn't given some, hey, thank you for everything you've done. We're not finished yet. We still need your help. I know it's going to taste bittersweet to have to campaign for somebody who's not going to get, or who's going to get the spot you wanted. But you just said it about talking about doing things for the party. And the fact that they did not utilize Mark Kelly as often as what they could have, or at all, I think is going to send it more leaning towards Trump. I think Texas and Florida are not as red anymore as what people think they are. And that's because just the fact that I think they're both still going to go to Trump. And I even think that perhaps Allred and Powell might lose their efforts to unseat the incumbents there.
I would bet money on that right now. That those states are Senate and Trump.
Just the fact that it's this close in both of those states should scare the hell out of the Republican Party.
Yeah, but it's not that close. Trump, I mean, Cruz is. Yeah, it's not that close. Though.
I'm seeing all of a sudden. I'm seeing all kinds of ads for Rick Scott.
But we talked about last week. Schumer doesn't think it's that close. Schumer's a smart guy.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think he's as in touch as what he thinks he is.
And neither is Nebraska. But this happens every cycle where Democrats think they're going to turn a red thing blue and they get so excited. They're doing the same thing in Nebraska right now. I don't think there's a shot that the independent wins there. Not a shot. But that's all everyone can talk about. And everyone's so excited about it. I don't think it's going to happen.
I think it's going to go back to Trump. Just because they've done so much over the past 4 years and really in the past 2 years to suppress the vote there. And they've been in the Supreme Court more times than the associate justices. I don't get it. One minute, Brad Roethlisberger is talking down against Trump for trying to essentially buy 11,000 votes. The next minute, he's trying to get Trump 11,000 votes, and I think that's going to pay off for him. Unfortunately, that's not a good thing. But the South is going to be a tie. I think North Carolina is going to go uh, to Harris, and I think it's
You
mostly
do?
because I do,
Okay.
because I think one of the things that's being pushed under the rug, especially by the right, well, I mean only by the right, is Roe versus Wade. I tried to look it up. I didn't find the number of actual women, but I saw in another news report that a huge percentage of the early voters right now are women. And you said yourself, Blake, that is a huge number. And that's why I think she's also going to keep the blue wall bluish. I think Michigan's going to be the closest one. The saving grace there, I think, are going to be two things. One, the fact that for the first time in history, President Biden actually got out and stood on a picket line with them. And that's never happened before.
It
And I
has
don't
not
think
helped his numbers inside of the unions, though, which is why most of them
we're not talking about his numbers. We're talking about an election.
right. But I'm just saying, I don't think it.
I think they're not when the other thing that my dad said, and we talked about Phil Repko, but my dad said, they talk a big game about this candidate or the other candidate now. But when that curtain closes behind, we have curtains in Pennsylvania in an actual booth. And that's where my dad is. Or here, when you get those dividers up, to your left and to your right, and it's just you and that number 2 pencil. Nobody knows.
You're right. Yeah.
Who you really voted for.
And Harris is counting on some women to do that are kind of like in where their maybe husband's very MAGA.
I think that is the vote that's actually safe.
I don't know that it's safe. I mean, I think
all I see down here as far as an issue is still ads about abortion.
Yeah, but the ads, TV ads are not going to decide this election. I think it's the last big TV ad election.
If my theory that the press who puts these polls together are doing so only because they want to keep themselves relevant.
Well, that's not the press. That
and also whoever, whether it's the press, the CNN poll, the New York Times poll,
of course,
the Fox News poll, or this college, that college, whoever, they're all doing it to keep themselves relevant. Then much of the advertising is doing the same thing to keep that issue relevant.
Yeah, I don't necessarily. I think you're right about the issue thing more than the thing. I don't see a lot of evidence that
the Democrats putting out more commercials about January 6th and about abortion, and you see Trump putting commercials out about the trans community.
Yeah, and some of that stuff's working though.
And I'm just going to say it's stupid shit. I think that's going to pay off, and I think that's why Florida and Texas are going to be as close as they are. And Florida has been blue in the past, and Georgia was blue, as recently as last year.
Yeah, it's Georgia's a more interesting state demographically than some.
And keep in mind, while I made Texas and Florida lighter than what they were, I've kept Georgia very light, again, for that same reason. If I'm wrong, it's going to be in Georgia.
And I think my caveat again is that I think that it could be a sweep either way. I think we could have what looks like an electoral landslide. I think we could have it come down to one state and 10,000 votes too. I think that it's just that close. I think that what I'm curious to see what will happen is how accurate were the polls? We're not seeing a lot of wide differences between the polls. They seem to kind of keep moving in the same direction. So I think if they're wrong, they're going to kind of all be wrong together. It seems like there's not some outlier that I think has it right now. So we'll be curious to see.
Yeah, and
does it work?
That's another reason why I said that the blue wall is either going to stay blue or it's going to be pink.
You think no matter what, it's all red or all blue? You think that they're not going to split
through the swing states of the Great Lakes? Yes.
And I split it on my map. If I have to make a prediction, I split that Donald Trump gets Pennsylvania, but not Michigan and Wisconsin, and still wins.
Our two flips in the South. This is my other view: is that she gets both North Carolina and Georgia, In fact, earlier, if you would have asked me a month ago, we did talk about this. Georgia was the more solid of the 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, by the way, that I think is going to, one of the reasons why, another place I might be wrong is Florida. And that's because I'm seeing a lot of grief about this Puerto Rican thing. There are 1.2 million Puerto Ricans. 1.2 million Puerto Ricans, not Hispanics.
Yeah.
Puerto Ricans in Florida.
I'm married to one.
Yeah.
And they ain't happy.
No, I agree. And I do think the garbage stuff that happened this week could make a difference. I think not only the comedian thing with the Puerto Ricans, but Biden's thing towards MAGA. I think that I think it cements his unpopularity and her not. I think when it boils down to it, if she loses,
I don't think Biden's gaffe is going to hurt Kamala so much as the comedian's gaffe is going to hurt Trump.
I think they both could. I'm saying I will be curious to see what happens. I could see how,
and only because look at him. On the one side, you got two white guys making a Puerto Rican joke. On the other side, you got an old white guy that everybody knows is senile. That's what we've all been talking about. For as much as I try to say, oh, he's still got it, he's still got something. He's slowed down, of course. He's 81. He's been doing this for 53 years or whatever.
So why not give him the Heisman stiff arm then? That's what she should do.
That's something that is without question. I won't doubt that is a deficiency in Kamala Harris.
I mean, it's a problem.
The leader.
She's got stuck between a rock and a hard place in this one. This is you ran with him.
He needs to be able. And this is why again I say we got screwed back in 2016. Hillary Clinton would not be putting up with this.
I do think there is a difference, though.
Would have said to Joe Biden, "Hey, that ain't cool," and I'm going to tell the people that ain't cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and my point is, a bigger man, Biden himself would have already cleaned it up for her, but he's not. He's got the same ego that Trump has on him. Neither one of them can apologize for anything. They both think they're the best thing that's ever happened.
He just apologized to a bunch of Native Americans.
But that's a publicity thing. My point is he can't own his own mistakes ever, and he could be doing her a lot of favors that he's not doing. That's my point is it's in her court at that point to not be the foolish candidate.
That is another. If this goes in Trump's favor on Tuesday morning or whatever in the actual more.
Yeah. If Trump is the existential threat that Biden and Harris claim he is, then Biden should be able to throw
a lot more.
Biden should be able to throw himself under the bus if Trump is really the threat that he claims he is. That's really because look, if Trump is Hitler, I would call Hitler's followers garbage. I would have no problem doing that. If Trump is actually Hitler, I would have no problem calling Hitler's followers garbage. You shouldn't have to apologize.
No, I wouldn't use garbage.
Well, whatever we use. My point is, we can use
rebranding, and that's a good relevant.
But my point is, you either believe it or you don't. But I've
got brothers that are Trump supporters,
right? And I don't buy that all Trump supporters are garbage. I don't buy that he's Hitler. I think he's dangerous. I think he has authoritarian tendencies. I think he's a bad executive. I think there's a lot of things I don't like about him. I think we'll have elections in 2028. He might do a lot of damage before then. She might do a lot of damage before then. I think my one consolation, if she wins and we've got divided government, I'm happy. Republicans, I think, are going to take the Senate. That's still our pizza bet. Yergz, if Republicans take the Senate, she can't do anything.
Pizza bet? Okay.
That's the pizza bet. I think Republicans have the majority in the Senate. That's the only thing I'm confident about right now. And even that I could certainly be wrong. But that's the thing I'm most confident on. But I think if she wins and Republicans have the Senate, she can't do any of the stuff that she claims she's going to do. She can't be the threat that Donald Trump claims she's going to be if she doesn't have the Senate. She can't get rid of the filibuster. She can't enact. She can't abortion access through 9 months without Senate.
I would love to see the filibuster just outright be something that becomes part of history.
We disagree. We should have an episode about that because I strongly disagree about that. I think the Senate is the only thing keeping Congress remotely adult right now.
Don't bitch when Congress doesn't get anything done.
I don't.
Well, then you're part of the problem.
No, I want Congress to be slow. The Senate is not supposed to be reactionary. That's the House's job.
Yeah.
We did not design it for them to be reactionary. I do not want the filibuster gone. I do not want Congress doing everything, and I don't want president pretending that they have an authority to do something when Congress doesn't.
Where's my thumbs up button?
There's committee, there's doing research, there's making intelligent decisions, and they're sitting there reading from the damn phone book.
I don't care. I do not want fast, rash decisions based on populist
I'm not
demand.
saying about fast, rash.
People are well. That's what you're going to get if you get rid of the filibuster, Yergz. That's what you get. You turn it into the House.
I'm talking about educated, informed, well thought out, and well.
You're talking about Congress, Yergz. You just said educated, well informed.
I just will share a little bit of caution here. Whatever you ask for, just understand you got to be cool with it. Both sides.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, exactly.
If you're cool with it on both sides, I tell this to people when people talk about and complain about Supreme Court justices.
Totally.
Just understand, if you're cool with it on the other side and them doing the exact same move, all right, cool. Let's be consistent.
Yeah, give your worst enemy that power, and then tell me about if you like it.
So yeah, exactly. And speaking of a whole other episode,
so you want Trump with Republicans without the if Trump wins the presidency and gets 51 seats in the Senate, you want them to get rid of the filibuster so he can do whatever he wants?
It's not whatever he wants, because they're going to lose the House.
I don't think necessarily.
That's another issue. That's another issue we haven't talked about.
Okay, but like I'm saying, theoretically, Trump wins all three.
The people in the House can't even elect a leader themselves.
Okay, but if Trump wins all three, you want him to not have the filibuster? You're okay with that? You think that's a good idea?
That's a good question.
Yes, because that'll prove my point. There's my ego popping through. That'll prove my point that this guy's dangerous, and the Republican Party should have stepped up 6 years ago.
Well, Mitch McConnell did when he asked to get rid of the filibuster, and Mitch McConnell said no when he was president. So that is the Republican Party doing what you're asking them to do. But if you get rid of the filibuster, there are fewer people.
Mitch McConnell. Speaking of Mitch McConnell, we were talking about making things even. We're talking about doing things consistently. What should have been Barack Obama's last Supreme Court.
We can talk about this all we want, for sure. I mean, yeah, it's fine. But he's
don't cut me off on my birthday, bitch.
I was trying to figure out, where is he going with this? Let him go.
What should have been Barack Obama's last Supreme Court nominee, but couldn't because we're in the middle of an election year.
Oh, okay.
Have the new president do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That would have taken one away from Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And if we would have continued that, he would have been limited with two, that the second one being what is now his third, because that was pushed through like Obama's last one could have been.
Right, which was a reaction to Schumer's getting rid of the filibuster for the other judges, and to which that's why I think all these things are slippery slope. Exactly. Maybe you shouldn't ever do the change.
We worry more about playing chess and less about being in government.
Yeah, I'm saying
the filibuster, and if it comes up, then the Senate puts it through for a confirmation hearing.
You think for everything, like budgets, everything,
yes.
Every law? I just think that's. Yes. I think we would be in. If I had a report that was due, and I don't like what I have on the report because I know my boss, who's about to retire in another couple of months, isn't going to like it. And I just sat there. Headquarters would go ballistic. This is not the same thing, though. You cannot take a real world scenario and apply it to the Senate and the House.
Leadership. They can't expect that out of me if they can't do it themselves.
I'm just saying, I think that you would be singing a totally different tune if Trump wins next week and has the Senate. I don't think you'll want him to get rid of the filibuster.
We're recording this, so
all right.
No.
All right. I mean, I don't want Trump to have the Republicans without a filibuster. I mean, like. I don't. Because I want the filibuster regardless. I want the Senate to be the longer term.
What happens when Trump wins? I'm staying right here, and I'm going to fight for democracy, not for Kamala Harris anymore, but for democracy, because Donald Trump will not bring that. I know that. I've known that since 2017. I saw it firsthand.
Yeah, but I mean, I think they both have undemocratic tendencies. I mean, Kamala wants to get rid of court pack. I think that's unconstitutional. So, I mean, like, they're both constitutional problems. I don't like either one of them. I think that it's fair to say
that if I would have won one of those almost 10-digit lotteries, one of those huge Mega Millions or Powerball, I would have donated half of it to reconvene the Constitutional Convention and put in term limits in Congress and the court.
It wouldn't work. You'd be wasting a ton of money. You still get outspent, but even if you won the $1 billion lottery, you'd get outspent by the Congress. Congress is just never going to vote in their own term limits, and so good luck.
That's why you convene the convention.
Right,
It's the only way you can do it.
We've got a further 50-50 divided country than we ever have in the history, and you got to get 3/4 of the states to do that. You're not getting 3/4 of the states to do it.
It's all about marketing.
Yeah, I mean,
when I go to Oklahoma,
yeah,
I tell about all those useless Democrat people, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, and all these people that we need to get out, and they'll go, "Oh my God, that's a great idea. Let's get them out."
The state legislature, you think is going to do that?
And then
you have to convince.
I'm looking at the tab that has the maps up. I'm not even looking at you guys,
Right.
but I know Philip's going to be sitting there giggling because he just said what's good for one side is going to be for the other. That doesn't mean I got to tell him about it.
Yeah, but you got to get state legislatures to do that, not people. It's not. You got to campaign against politicians are the people that have to do that. I think people that think that they can change the Constitution right now, and we can't pass a budget on time in Congress.
I say that I'm going to do it in a week.
Look, it's a lofty goal.
Why do you think I won 10 digits?
I'm not saying term limits are a bad idea. I'm just saying they're not the silver bullet that people think they're going to be, and they're not going to happen because Congress has to vote in their own term limits. So that is a pipe dream.
Congress is going to ever vote in their own term limits. We know that. And because of whatever issues are going on and whatever Trump's got on these people in Congress,
they don't have anything on them. They want to keep their jobs. That's all there is to it. They want to keep their seat. So they
but they didn't have to keep Trump's job in the process.
You're right. They didn't, but they would have had. They should have
a long time ago. But all they do is they fly them down to Mar-a-Lago, have one magical lunch, and all of a sudden somebody took a big bite of the apple.
It's because they keep thinking he will just go away, and they think that that's the final straw that broke the camel's back, and they keep being wrong. Yeah, Senate Republicans absolutely have no one to blame but themselves for not impeaching and removing him after the second one, and then he wouldn't be their problem.
And House McCarthy was one of them.
The House isn't the problem; it's the Senate, because they got past the House because we had a Democratic House. So it's the House isn't the problem; it's the Senate specifically. So you're talking about 10 Republicans in the Senate that would have made a difference.
There was enough of a force in the House, and they've taken over.
But the House doesn't matter. He got impeached in the House. My point is, it doesn't matter what Republicans did in the House. It matters what happened.
Forget about even impeaching him, because we all know that's a political split.
No, but it would have. But they could have gotten rid of him forever.
Discussed or not, he was impeached twice. And it went down party lines for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
He was tried, and it went down party lines for the most part.
Yeah, but that's the point is the Republicans would have been rid of.
You didn't have the Democrats going up to the Democratic leadership saying, I don't think we should have voted for this. But you had Republicans going up to people like Mitt Romney and saying, I wish I had your set of balls.
Well, yeah, I mean, and these are people that are getting threats against their families and stuff in the House specifically. I think.
What do you expect is going to happen when you work for the federal government in this day and age?
I don't think you should be getting threats against your family because of I think that's ridiculous. I think the MAGA.
We got professional athletes getting death threats.
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous.
Of course, federal government.
I think giving someone death threats for any reason that is ridiculous, and I think the MAGA crowd has certainly been worse at it on the whole, although it's not across the board. I mean, we've got plenty of someone tried to kill Brett Kavanaugh too. 2 people tried to assassinate Donald Trump this season. So let's not pretend that this is all on one side or something like the threat of violence. But to me, the key difference is that if there would have been if the House and the Senate could have voted on impeachment and removal without their vote being public, Donald Trump's gone without a doubt. Those people were sick of him. They're kind of dealing with him.
Maybe that is the caveat.
They should. I mean, I think they could change that. There's actually nothing.
Impeachment and trial votes to be closed secret ballot.
I think I don't quote me on this. I don't think that's a constitutional provision. I think that the House and the Senate could change those rules. I don't think there's anything in the Constitution that says it has to be public by the senators and the House. But that's the point is 10 Republicans could have changed the course of the party in the country.
Overall, day-to-day procedures aren't constitutional. It's just big picture.
And the filibuster isn't constitutional either. But the filibuster, I think, is a institutional guardrail against populism. And I think populism is the problem we're dealing with right now. I think that's what I don't like about the Trump stuff is I do not like the populist stuff. I do not like the pretending that we can only pick America or other people, like that we can't prioritize things and do two things at the same time. I don't like the populism stuff. I think if you have a filibuster-free Senate, what you end up with is wild swings every 2 years, and you're gonna see like and Kamala Harris would do this if she had the Senate. Donald Trump, if he wins the Senate and the House, I promise you, he will learn his lesson from last time, and he will go all in on trying to do everything he can in the first 2 years. Because I think the lesson he learned last time is like, we just got to tax them.
I told you that. When I ran into that kid, when they did something stupid in their first term, and I ran into that kid that was my counterpart at the Armed Services, the Armed Services Ball for the inauguration. And I said, Luke, what the blankety blank? We're not on terrestrial radio. I said, Luke, what the fuck?
You need to edit yourself.
He said, you think that's crazy? Wait till you see us in our second and third term.
Yeah, I know. But I mean,
he's not making a secret that not only does he want that, but also that the people that he's putting in place, look at any other country that has recently gone that way in, again, more recent times. Hungary, Turkey. The first thing they did was they started intimidating members of the legislature. Then they turned the court. Then it was...
He's not done, which as much as there's propaganda out there about the Supreme Court being in his pocket, it's BS. They rule against him all the time. And in fact, J.D. Vance on the record has said, I think that what we should do is if they strike down something we want to do, we just say, enforce it then. Like, I think that's dangerous. I think that kind of rhetoric of saying, hey, if the court says we can't do something, we're just going to give them a giant middle finger. I think that is incredibly dangerous. Kamala Harris is saying the exact same thing. Biden has been doing the exact same thing the whole time with student loans. I think that is incredibly dangerous. We know, but like, I still don't think that that's going to sway the Supreme Court. I think that they're like going to give him a giant middle finger back. And I don't think it'll work out well for Donald Trump if he does try to do that. Now, I think we can have all sorts of damage to our institutions. I think we can have lots of crap go wrong in the country and geopolitically. I really think that's really the big problem with both Biden and Harris. Both Trump and Harris. I think foreign policy wise, we are screwed for the next 4 years. Without getting really lucky that they hire really good people around them, I don't think either one of their
Trump isn't going to do.
I don't think either of their instincts are
Trump, and that was the other thing I was going to say a moment ago. Trump has made it clear he's going after yes men.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what concerns me the most about Trump.
Again, is all he's got left.
Yeah. And that's what's weird, though.
40 out of 44 of his prior cabinet members, to include his vice president.
Right.
Speaking of flipping them off.
Yeah. But that's an important thing, though, Yergz, because that's an interesting question, is that really the question is, people are going, oh, based on Trump's first term, do I think he'll be like that in his second term? I think too many voters in America think that, oh, well, Trump wasn't so bad the first time, he'll be the same the second time. I don't think that's true, because he's not going to hire the same adults they did the first time.
They all go farther left or right.
Right. They're doing the same.
Bush did it. Obama did it. Biden would have done it.
I don't even think it's further left or right, Yergz. I think it's what you said. I think it's that he wants people that tell him yes. I don't think it really, and that might change. Today might be a different yes than tomorrow's yes, because he changes his mind so often. The problem is that people, so we know Trump. We think we know Trump because we knew his first term. And it's unique because the only time this has ever happened before was Grover Cleveland. If he does end up winning it, where he wins 2 terms, not back to back. Well, the problem with Harris is that we're in the same boat with her, except that we're just connecting her to Biden. So what we're doing is going, okay, Trump's first term versus Biden's term, which is just what we were talking about earlier. Whose term did we feel better under? That's essentially what this is coming down to. The problem is, I don't think Trump's going to be like his first term. And I don't think we can know what Harris will be like. I think it's more likely that Harris is exactly like Biden, because she's not shown us that there would be a lot of differences.
I think it's more likely that Harris is going to be more like her campaign ads.
I don't, because I think she'll inherit a lot of his staff and stuff. I think that she'll defer to a lot of the Biden people around her, because I think she's not good at this, and it would be smart for her to rely on people that are smarter than her. And
yeah, I think that's going to happen, but I don't think she's going to be afraid to change things up.
Maybe not, but I don't think so, because I think she's going to. Does she go in there like a baller and say, "I'm the president now"?
She does get the transition team. She does get the whole she is the opportunity to start over.
Yeah, but she's running for re-election from day one.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the other hard thing.
We talked about that 6 months ago, that Biden and Trump were both running for re-election, and now she and Trump are both running for re-election.
Right, because she's
also
basically running
both
for Biden's
the
second term.
opportunity. They both also have but legally it's her first.
Mm-hmm.
So they both still have the opportunity to bring their own people in, and don't think that she hasn't realized that.
Yeah, I think
is the one that's the president right now, that she's going to have essentially 2.25 terms.
I predict she leans heavily on Obama for this kind of stuff and less on Biden, but that would still be a lot of the same. Really, Biden's is just kind of the D team of Obama. And so like, I think you're going to end up with better than Biden potentially with her, but not a lot. I got to go. My wife's hungry, and you, as you mentioned, happy wife, happy life. So
yeah, I got 2 dogs that are probably going to piss all over my
feet. Can I ask one quick question real quick before we conclude? I've been wanting to ask you this real quick. We've talked about, what would happen if people win, right? Harris or Trump, we've done the map and that sort. I'm curious, real quick question. If Kamala loses, is this the last we see of her? If Trump loses, is this the last we see of MAGA?
Kamala, yes, for sure.
Yes. Kamala shouldn't be there in the first place.
Yeah.
That's I think the up and comers for the Democrats are Pete Buttigieg.
Mm-hmm.
And
which I was fearing she was going to choose him and Shapiro. Yeah.
I don't think he helps her though.
Shapiro, and I'm just going to say it in plain English. I don't think, as much as he was elected as governor, I don't think we're ready to see a Jewish vice president.
Okay.
There's too much hate in this country. Philip, you know that yourself.
I get it.
I see it as a gay man. I know damn well you see it as a black man. Mm-hmm. There's no reason for it. I didn't do anybody to the people that hate me. I didn't do anything to the people that hate me. Right. And same with you. Other than you probably went to Harvard, and that probably pisses them off even more. And can think circles around them without even having to open your mouth and still beat them. But I don't know if that sounded really intelligent enough, but that was actually a compliment.
I think Kamala's toast if she loses. I think if she wins, she doesn't get another term too, because I don't think she will be a good president. I don't think she's good at the job. I think that Trump, unfortunately, is no. I think the Republican Party is Trump until he dies. I'm not.
I don't agree with that, because I know that the kids aren't liked. The only of the 3 kids that are liked from the Trump family, the 3 adult kids that are liked from the Trump family, is Ivanka, and she got nothing to do with the guy.
Right, but
play
why she's liked.
But play this out. If he loses, he's going to claim it was stolen, and he didn't lose. There will be no way for Republicans to get him out of the party.
We've never heard that one before.
I know, but my point is, he has total chokehold on the Republican Party. He's not going to let that go. So the Republican Party will stay Trumpy until he dies.
No, I think, and this is irregardless to the fact that he's saying that if he loses, that he's done.
He's saying that, but he's full of it. He's going to claim it was stolen.
Right. Forget about that. Stolen. And you're right. And you're right. They've put this stolen thing together since Iowa.
So
when Ted Cruz beat him in Iowa.
2016. Yeah, every election he's ever lost, and even the popular vote in 2016, he can't let go of any loss. The point is, where's the permission structure in the Republican Party to say that he lost if he won't say he lost? No one will say it. No one will.
I think too many.
They're not going to grow a backbone.
The Republican Party have sat back and admired people like Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney and others.
Those people are out of the party. They're not in the party anymore. Those people are not Republicans anymore.
They're homeless.
They're still Republicans. See, There's no
future for Nikki Haley. There's no future for Liz. There's no future for any of these people.
That's wrong.
I hope you're right.
Those people are the Republican Party.
I hope you're right, but I think you're wrong. I
gotta find a home for Blake.
Yeah,
it's MAGA that are the Republicans in name only.
I agree, but they are the majority now. They are 90% of the party. They are not 51% of the party. It's not a plurality. Trump stomped everyone in the primary. The Republican Party rejected Nikki Haley, who would be mopping the floor now with Biden or Harris. They rejected her.
But she still got votes even after she was out.
Yeah, but you're talking about 10 or 20% of the party. That's not enough to change the party. And as those people
no, that's where you and I are going to disagree till hell freezes over. The fact that I've got Florida being red and Texas being red right now, that pink shade that I'm labeling each of them, that is not a win.
It's
That
concern.
is a holy shit. We got away with one there.
Right, but I mean, I think that I think Republicans are in trouble.
Nikki Haley remained as popular as she did is not a win for Donald Trump.
Right, but how are you playing out who runs in 2028 that's not Trumpy or against Trump if Trump claims he didn't lose in 2024? My point is, unless all the Republicans get together and go middle finger to Trump, he lost, and we're not going along with the stolen election stuff, which they will not do because he will still have power, he will still have control, he will still be deciding races in Republican primaries, he will still be putting his candidates against people that are against him.
Because there's also people that were endured. Look at Ohio right now. Moreno's not winning, and
very close though.
And Matt's close to unseating his guy.
No, he's not. The polls have him at a 1% chance. Matt's not going to win. I mean, it's a long shot. He's outspent. Matt's not going to win.
Yeah, but I thought that
he's nowhere near it. No, I mean, and the polling is, I mean, I'm not saying there's a lot of accurate polling on the 7th district in Ohio, but the odds maker have it a 99% chance of the other guy. So,
the odds maker, they made that odds makers became irrelevant the moment that betting became legal.
So but 99. I mean, Matt's not winning. I just I will bet my house that Matt doesn't win on Tuesday.
That's bigger than a pizza bet.
So look, and kudos to him for trying. Like, I'm all for it.
You know, this is still recorded, right?
That's fine. I mean, I like Matt. I think it'd be cool to have someone like Matt in Congress, but he's not. That doesn't make reality different than what it is. I mean, he's probably not going to win. I would be shocked if that happened.
Probably is different than 99%.
Yeah, 99% is pretty. It's been like that the whole time. So it'd be great. I mean, I wish more people like Matt ran for Congress. I do. I really, I think that it would be better. I wish Congress was bigger. We should expand it.
We're back to the.
Okay, I gotta go though. My wife really is gonna murder me if I don't go eat.
We're back to the term limits and making something worthy of your time in Congress, so that you leave with a legacy. Speaking of worthy of their time, we want to thank Phil. Bye, Blake. we want to thank Phil Blackett for joining us today, and we'll see you in hour number 1 on Tuesday.
Absolutely.
Yep. So
looking forward to it.
Tuesday. I mean, I'm going to be here Monday and Tuesday during the day, of course. Jane's going to be joining me for hour number 2 on Monday for Both Sides Now. But then Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific, for 3 hours, I'll be here with all kinds of people coming in and out. Philip, Blake, hopefully Matt calling in from a victory party, going over whatever results as they roll in. Mm-hmm. I will somehow have this garage door either filled with computer screens there, or I'll have my 4-screen arm set up somewhere. Somehow we'll be back up and running in much bigger fashion, so I can see all the different things that I got to track the things we're tracking. All right, buddy. Thanks for joining us. Great seeing you again. You look great. And I'll see you on Tuesday.
Happy birthday. Enjoy it. See you on Tuesday. Appreciate it.
All right, Phil. Thanks, buddy.
All right.
All right, gang. That's everything. Way late today. 1:34. We got no terrestrial stations, but for everybody else, 1:34 Eastern and 10:34 Pacific. Again, Monday, we'll be back 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific, as well as Tuesday, same time. You can get anything about us at Yergz, and I need to change that. Apparently, for whatever reason, the www.mastiff.media doesn't work. You actually have to type in the HTTP, and I'll do it now so you can see it. http://mastiff.media. The reason I say it is because .media is a suffix for web addresses, just like .com. there's www in front of the Yergz too, but you already know that's there, so you don't have to put it in. For .media, it's not as common yet, and because Mastiff Media is also the name of the company, I used it as kind of a play on words of sorts to use media as not only part of our name, but also our web address. So find out anything you want at either of those two, where we're going to be, when we're going to be, and Tuesday, we will be at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific, right here, wherever you want to. And I talked during the commercial with KSHP. They didn't know we were starting today, which is why I rushed to get a payment in yesterday. But whatever, they owe me a date, and they are part of the sponsors. What's happening with Tuesday is any of the stations where I would normally pay to be on the air, if they take part in it, they're a sponsor. And what we're doing is we're running ads for them to total brain fart, sorry, to promote the different types of spots like mine that they got, and hopefully fill up their schedules. So check that out Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific, for a special edition of Up the Middle, where we do election coverage. Oh, by the way, that's HTTPS. That's huge because it's secure. There we go. HTTPS ://mastiff.media, or just Google mastiff.media. You'll find me, I promise you. It's the same Mastiff that you see on my mic flag. If you're looking at there it is. All right, I'm rambling, so I'm going to go get some food. All right, everybody, thank you for joining, and we'll see you again Monday. Have a great weekend.